Your chest tightens before the thought even forms. Heat climbs your neck. The screen flashes with another message that sounds sharper than it is. Your shoulders lift toward your ears, breath goes shallow, and 100 rehearsed comebacks surge like a stampede behind your teeth. You tap the keys harder, your jaw locks. A tiny tremor starts in your hand. Sound familiar? Inside that split second, your brain has quietly slid the steering wheel from the part that chooses to the part that protects. It's fast, it's ancient, and it's not your fault. But it's also not your destiny. This is where you learn to press one small, reliable button, the pause, so triggers stop dictating the next minute of your life. With a handful of brain-smart habits, you'll turn the flash of heat into a runway for clarity. One breath, one sentence, one tiny choice that changes the scene. Let me show you the first switch. Call it the pause key, a two-step move that interrupts your amygdala's alarm and returns oxygen to your prefrontal cortex, the seat of judgment and language. Step 1 is a 4-4-6 breath. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6, because a longer exhale tells your vagus nerve we are safe. Step 2 is a label. I'm having the impulse to react. Not I am reactive, but I'm having the impulse. That grammar creates space. Space is oxygen for wise choices. If you can buy back 8 seconds, you can buy back your character. Notice your body now, tongue relaxed from the roof of your mouth. Shoulders drop a centimeter. Air cools your nostrils on the inhale. Warmth leaves slowly on the exhale. Your chest, a tide pool, lowering and rising without urgency. The room sounds separate. Hum of a fan, distant car, the soft click of something settling. This is not decoration, it's neurology in motion. Sensation anchors attention, and attention is the handle on your nervous system. You will work with 2 frameworks that carry you from spark to choice. The first is the 90-second weather rule. Feelings surge like weather systems. A biochemical wave usually peaks and begins to shift within about a minute and a half if you don't feed it with catastrophic stories. Your job is not to ban the storm, but to hold the umbrella while it passes. For 90 seconds, your only task is presence. Label the feeling, breathe, notice a neutral detail, and refuse to add gasoline thoughts. The second is the pause-to-choice loop. Pause, name, widen, choose. You'll run this loop so often it becomes your new baseline. Here's your first micro-drill. When a trigger hits tone in a text, a raised eyebrow, a calendar surprise, say inwardly pause. Let your jaw float. Inhale 4, hold 4, exhale 6. Whisper, I'm having the thought that I'm being attacked, or I'm having the impulse to prove I'm right. Notice a neutral object, the texture of your sleeve, the weight of the phone, the rectangle of light on the desk. Feel your feet spread inside your shoes. For the next 90 seconds, do nothing clever. Let chemistry pass through as weather, not identity. When the timer in your mind dings, ask one question. What's the smallest wise move here? A story. In a fluorescent conference room, Maya watched a client's face harden as he flipped through slides she had labored over all week. His pen tapped faster. He exhaled through his nose in that way that always meant trouble at her last job. Heat entered her cheeks like a floodlight. Her throat narrowed. Her beautifully prepared answers lined up like soldiers ready to sprint. She felt the urge to fill the air, to defend, to prove. Instead, she pressed the pause key. 4-count inhale. 4-count stillness, 6-count release. Her shoulders softened by a millimeter. She named the moment. I'm having the impulse to rescue this with words. She watched the glossy reflection on the table and traced the square of light with her eyes. 90 seconds passed. The wave didn't vanish, but it lost its teeth. Then she asked, what's the smallest wise move? It wasn't a monologue. It was a question. Before we go further, can you tell me which slide feels off? The client's jaw unlocked. He pointed to one chart whose labels were unclear. The room exhaled. The deal survived. The person who walked out of that room was not the same as the one who walked in. She had practiced being the author, not the avalanche. Feel your own breath again. Cool in, warm out. Let your exhale be a touch longer. Note the weight of gravity on your hips, the slight stretch at the base of your skull. The air on your forearms is a degree cooler than your palms. Your eyes soften their focus. This is the sensory scaffolding that holds the pause. You aren't abandoning action, you are delaying it long enough to choose it. Here's the science you'll remember in plain language. When a trigger arrives, your amygdala rings the alarm and tugs blood away from the thinking parts of your brain. Long exhales pull the brake on that alarm through your parasympathetic system. Naming the impulse recruits language networks that dampen raw activation. Attention to neutral details stabilizes your reticular activating system so it stops scanning only for danger. None of this is a lecture, it's a tool belt. Use it in traffic, in the boardroom, in the kitchen at midnight, when an old fight tries to resurrect itself. Run the pause-to-choice loop now, even without a crisis. First the pause, 1 breath 446, then name something true and simple, I'm here. Widen your field, notice 3 sounds, 2 textures, 1 color. Choose a micro-action that aligns with your values. Perhaps you unclench your fist. Perhaps you soften your voice by half a shade. Perhaps you say, give me a moment, I want to answer this well. These are tiny doors into a large room. The room is your agency. Identity matters. You are not your emotion. You are the awareness that notices the emotion. You are not your first thought. You are the chooser of your second thought. When you say, I'm having the thought that, you step onto a balcony overlooking the scene. From the balcony, you can see more doors. From the balcony, you don't deny the storm. You decide to carry the umbrella with steadier hands. Feel another sensory beat. The room expands a little when you soften your gaze. A faint scent, coffee, paper, rain threads through your inhale. Your ribs widen sideways like a book opening. On the exhale, your belly falls a few millimeters. The skin around your eyes warms. Your feet meet the floor with a broader surface. These details are not trivial. They are buttons you can press when your mind wants to sprint. There will be times you miss the pause. You will send the snappy email, interrupt the loved one, slam the cupboard a bit too loud. That doesn't erase your progress. After a reaction, you still have a pause. It's called repair. Use the same loop just later in the timeline. Breathe, name, I reacted. Widen, what matters now? Choose, I'll own it in 1 sentence. Apologize without a thesis. The pause is not only preventative, it's restorative. Your nervous system learns either way. Let's place this in a daily scene. The phone lights up with a "we need to talk" message from your manager at 4:51 p.m. Your stomach contracts as if a fist closed around it. Your jaw slides forward. You imagine every worst-case scenario your brain has on file. You press the pause key, breath 446. I'm having the thought that I'm in trouble. You look at the window frame's right angle, the line where paint meets wall, the slow crawl of a cloud, 90 seconds. Then you ask, what's the smallest wise move? It might be, can we schedule for tomorrow morning so I can focus? Or, what's the topic so I can prepare? Or perhaps the wise move is to do nothing until your body is settled. Triggers prefer you rushed. Choices prefer you ready. Feel the chair beneath you again, the quiet tug of clothing at your shoulders, the temperature on your lips when you breathe out. Let your exhale be a thread that you can always find, even in the dark. The longer you practice this, the sooner your body will start the pause for you. Neuroplasticity is repetition's gift. The grooves you carve with each small pause become a track your mind loves to follow. Here's a tiny journal line for later tonight. My most common trigger is, the smallest wise move I can make next time is, keep it simple. One sentence is stronger than a page of rationalizations. Tomorrow morning, rehearse your sentence once out loud. Actors rehearse calm so they can perform under lights. You're rehearsing presence so you can perform under life. One more anecdote. At home, after a long day, you walk into a kitchen where dishes lean like a precarious sculpture. Your breath shortens. The voice in your head drafts a prosecutorial opening statement. Instead, you move your eyes to the faucet's curve. Inhale 4, hold 4, exhale 6. Name, I'm having the impulse to scorekeep. 90 seconds. The weather softens. You choose, I'll wash 3 plates and then ask for help. You deliver the line in a softer register. The evening doesn't turn into a courtroom drama. A minor pause prevents a major plot. Soon the pause becomes your signature move. Friends may not see it, but they will feel its effects. Fewer escalations, more questions, more dignity. Workmates will feel it in your timing, the beat before you respond, the targeted sentence that keeps meetings focused. You will feel it most when you fail, because even then you will know what to do next. Breathe, name, widen, choose, over and over until your triggers lose their throne. Let your shoulders settle, let your eyes rest. Let your exhale lengthen by just 1 count. The pause isn't passivity, it is power distributed wisely. It says, I'm bigger than this moment and I choose who I am inside it. And when you forget, you begin again because the pause key is always inside reach. You are the awareness, not the emotion. You are the author, not the avalanche. This is how your life starts to feel like something you're living, not something happening to you, one small pause at a time. You're going to build a pause you can stand inside, even when the floor tilts. Think of it as architecture, not magic. A doorway, a hallway, a room with a window. The doorway stops the rush. The hallway buys you distance. The window shows you more of the landscape than the one thorn in front of your nose. 2 frameworks will do the heavy lifting today. The first is stop, simple, tactical, on purpose. It's the classic pause distilled into 4 moves you can remember under pressure. Stop what your hands are doing. Take a breath with a longer exhale. Observe the signal and the story. Proceed with 1 intentional action smaller than your ego prefers. The second is trigger mapping, a habit of plotting the patterns that ambush you, so tomorrow's version of you meets them like familiar hills on a morning run. You're not trying to avoid life. You're making a map so the turns no longer surprise you. Start with this, feel where your body holds the word hurry. For most people, it hides in the neck, the jaw, the tongue pressing upward to the roof of the mouth. Let the tongue drop. Loosen the jaw by a fraction, as if you're about to hum. Imagine the back of your neck widening by a thumb's breadth. Inhale gently through the nose for 4, hold for the count that feels like a comma, then lengthen the exhale until your belly softens. Air cools your nostrils like early morning air over a lake. The exhale leaves warmer, a soft thread unspooling out into the room. The light in the room lands on surfaces you hadn't noticed. The matte sheen of a mug, the faint scuff on the floor, the way shadows favor one side of a book's spine. Sensation is your scaffolding. Climb it whenever your mind starts sprinting toward the worst. Here's the science bridge that keeps you honest. Your reticular activating system, the brain's filtering doorman, gets trained by repetition. If you habitually fix on threat, it dutifully opens the velvet rope for every hint of danger and stares down kindness at the curb. Stop is a way to retrain that doorman. The long exhale calms the alarm network, naming what you notice, heat in your cheeks, speed in your thoughts, engages language circuits that quiet the raw signal. And choosing one small action updates your prediction engine. Your brain learns, when X happens, we don't combust. We breathe and ask a specific question. Repeat that enough, and the RAS starts highlighting data that matches calm, not panic. This isn't denial, it's quality control for attention. Run stop now on a low-stakes moment. You're halfway through a task when your phone lights up with a notification. Stop. Let your thumb hover instead of pouncing. Take, inhale 4, hold briefly, exhale 6. Observe, I'm having the impulse to chase novelty. My chest feels tight, my shoulders inch upward, my mind wants relief. Proceed. One action that serves the larger aim. Maybe you flip the phone face down or whisper after 2 more paragraphs. That sentence is not weak. It's a leash for your attention that you hold gently, not like a fight, but like guidance. 5 repetitions today, and your brain files this under how we do things. Story time. Rafi worked support for a startup where everyone typed too fast and slept too little. A customer's email hit his screen with the subject line "Unacceptable," all caps. His stomach clenched like a fist. He could hear the scolding tone that used to come from his father when he dented the car as a teenager. His forearms buzzed with adrenaline. The first draft in his head was a legal defense. He felt the spinning rise, prove, justify, dominate. He slid his chair back 1 inch, stop. He let his hands rest on his thighs, take 1 slow breath, longer exhale. He watched the sensations like a curious scientist, observe, heat in the cheeks, a buzzing along the collarbone, a thought that said, they're attacking my competence. He asked the smallest wise action, proceed. I'll mirror the concern once, then ask for 1 specific example. He wrote, I can see this felt urgent and frustrating. Could you share which step didn't work on your end so I can fix it now? The customer replied, oh, I may have missed step 3. The storm folded. Rafi didn't win a trophy. He won a nervous system that didn't hijack the rest of his day. Feel the chair supporting your weight. Notice the way fabric touches your skin at the shoulders and back. The temperature at your fingertips is slightly cooler than the warmth of your palms. Your eyes can soften, taking in the periphery. The tightness that was a clenched knot becomes a rope you can slowly loosen, strand by strand. These small, concrete cues are the bricks of your pause. Without them, concepts float. With them, your pause can hold your body and your choices at the same time. Now build your trigger map. It's not a manifesto, it's a field guide. Pick a single day. On the left margin of a page, write 3 predictable flashpoints: a certain co-worker's tone, the 5 p.m. hunger dip, the family group chat at night. In the middle, write what the body usually does: jaw locks, breath goes shallow, chest heats, thoughts hunt for old arguments. On the right, write your smallest wise move for each. Maybe it's ask a clarifying question first. Maybe eat a handful of protein at 4:30. Maybe mute the thread at 9 p.m. and send 1 kind message in the morning. You're not scripting life, you're pro-writing pause. When the moment arrives, your nervous system recognizes the terrain and reaches for the action you've already rehearsed. That's neuroplasticity with a map and a pencil. Let's anchor it with another micro drill you'll use inside stop. Call it name, frame, aim. You name what's here. I'm having the thought that I'm being judged. You frame the moment. This is a stress response, not a verdict. You aim your next move. I will ask 1 question in a steady voice. The entire sequence takes less than a breath and gives you an interior coach with clear instructions. The naming drains intensity. The framing stops the meaning-making machine from writing doom. The aiming recruits your executive functions to pick a door you can actually walk through. Do it before bed once, in the morning once, and in 1 real trigger today. The repetition lays tracks. Another story, this time at home. Talia's partner forgot to pick up the parcel she had been waiting for again. She saw it, the kitchen light throwing long shadows, the counter crowded with mail, and felt the courtroom in her chest assembling. exhibits of every past forgetting, the prosecution warming up its voice. The air felt warmer near her cheeks, cooler near her wrists. Her tongue pushed hard against the top of her mouth. Stop. She placed both palms flat on the counter. Stop. She took a breath long enough to feel the shoulders drop a centimeter. Take. She observed the data, thoughts racing to tally the past, a younger voice saying, "You don't matter," the taste of metal in her mouth. Observe. She aimed small, one sentence to express impact and a request. Proceed. When the parcel isn't picked up after you agreed, I feel like my time isn't valued. Can we set a reminder together now? The temperature in the room shifted by degrees. They set the reminder. They didn't litigate the past. The pause didn't erase reality. It gave them a doorway to a future. Try another sensory beat. Feel the air along the bridge of your nose. Notice the slight coolness near the inner corners of your eyes. Your ribs widen sideways on the inhale like curtains being gently drawn open. The exhale lowers your belly by a slow count. Gravity says hello and you answer by settling a bit deeper in the chair. The sound in the room, distant traffic, a ticking clock, a neighbor's footstep, becomes a soundtrack that proves you're in a larger world than the narrow tunnel of your trigger. The pause widens the room inside your skull. Here's a small but mighty addition to stop called the two-question reframe. After observe, ask, what else might be true, and what matters most right now? Those two questions stretch time. They invite your prefrontal cortex to run alternatives instead of reruns. If your manager is short with you, what else might be true? Could be they're under a deadline and speaking in headlines. What matters most right now might be clarity on the deliverable, not defending my worth. The answer guides your proceed. Could you prioritize the top two outcomes you need by today? That line is not submissive. It's strategic oxygen. If you like timers, here's a micro practice called the 90-second bridge, a cousin to yesterday's weather rule. When you notice activation, set a silent countdown in your mind. For those 90 seconds, you keep your attention on one physical anchor, breath, feet, or hands. You allow the emotion to crest without weaving in catastrophe. When your timer ends, you ask one of the two questions and then speak or act. A bridge takes you from one bank to another. It does not criticize the river. It simply lets you cross without getting swept away. Do this standing in line before you press send, or in the 10 steps between your desk and a colleague's door. You will feel resistance. The body loves old grooves, even painful ones, because predictability feels like safety. Be kind and stubborn. Say, of course my system wants the quick hit of reaction. It's trying to protect me. Then breathe, name, frame, aim, proceed. Your kindness is not indulgence. It's the lubricant that lets new pathways form without the friction of shame. Shame tightens, curiosity loosens. You need looseness to move. Quick neuroscience detour with a purpose. When you pause, you redirect blood flow toward regions that regulate language, planning, and empathy. You're not suppressing emotion so much as metabolizing it. Think of feelings as packets of information and energy. The pause lets you read the label and use the energy well. Anger wants protection or justice. Fear wants preparation. Sadness wants release or acknowledgement. The pause asks, which of these is needed? Not, how do I make this go away? Ironically, the less you fight the feeling, the faster it changes state. That's the chemistry of acceptance. Less adrenaline, steadier dopamine, a calmer heart rhythm your vagus nerve recognizes as we can think again. Check in with your senses once more. Your hands may tingle, let them. Your breath may feel shallow, lengthen only the exhale and see how the inhale follows. The light on the wall may have shifted since you began reading. Notice the slow migration of a shadow. Temperature variations across your skin are maps of aliveness. When you turn toward them, your system gets the memo. We are here in a body, not trapped in a thought storm. This is presence you can feel, not a concept you're supposed to remember. Let's fold in a small script that dignifies pauses out loud. Call it tactical kindness. It's a single sentence you can use in tough moments. Give me a moment. I want to respond, not react. It signals to others that you care about the quality of the exchange, and it gives your nervous system permission to do the stop sequence in public. Practice it once in front of a mirror, once in a low-stakes conversation, and once the next time a meeting heats up. You're training your mouth to protect your mind. Another workplace scene to etch the groove. Keisha was asked a question in a meeting she didn't have an answer for. Her chest lit up with heat. The old story marched in. If you don't answer immediately, they'll think you're incompetent. She noticed the micro-urge to bluff, stop. She placed both feet flat to feel the floor stop. Breath into the ribs, exhale until the shoulders soften, take. Observe, racing, a movie of imagined judgment, tingling at the base of the skull, observe. Proceed, tactical kindness out loud. Good question. I want to give you the right data. Can I check one figure and circle back in an hour? Heads nodded. The room stayed human. Later, a colleague said, I liked that you didn't rush. One pause gave permission to everyone else. Identity turn again, because this is the engine of durable change. You are the awareness that notices impulses, not the impulses themselves. You are the author who can revise a sentence mid-paragraph. When you feel the tug to react, imagine stepping onto a small balcony. From there, you can see 2 more doors than the hallway showed you. You are not a prisoner of first drafts. You are a writer of second drafts in real time. The pause is your pencil. End your day with a trigger map review. 1 minute. Close your eyes. Ask, what lit me up today? See the scene as if watching a film. Where in your body did it land? What micro-action did you choose or wish you had? If you missed the pause, do the repair in your mind. Breathe, name, frame, aim. Picture the sentence you could say tomorrow. Your brain treats vivid rehearsal like a rep at the gym. You just strengthened the muscle you'll need. Once more, let the senses settle you. The air at the back of your throat is cooler than your tongue. The weight of your body in the chair has a particular density today that is different from yesterday. The room hums a little, appliances, street noise, the rustle of fabric when you shift. Your face can soften by 2%. That's enough. Calm is not a dramatic event. It's a series of tiny exhalations arranged with care. Sometimes the trigger will be internal. A memory, a thought loop at 2 a.m. use the same architecture. Stop the rumination by gently labeling mind replay. Take the breath your body forgot. Observe the 3 sensory snapshot, what you see in the dim light, what your skin feels against the sheets, the rhythm of your pulse. Proceed. A smallest wise move like place 1 hand on the belly, count 10 longer exhales, then sip water. You're not negotiating with ghosts. You're shepherding your nervous system back to now. Your pause will change other people. They will still be themselves with all their noise, but your timing will alter the music of each conversation. The beat you hold before answering, the steady tone you choose, the single question you ask, it all nudges the shared system towards sanity. That is leadership, whether or not you have the title. It starts in secret with your breath and becomes visible in the way rooms feel when you speak. You are practicing sovereignty in inches. You don't have to believe every thought that salutes from the past. You don't have to chase every surge of heat. You can hold your place. You can choose your next inch. You can be the balcony and the author, the breath and the sentence. This is not about perfection, it's about practice. And practice is how a pause becomes a doorway, a hallway, a room with a window wide enough to see the day clearly and choose the next wise move. Today you build the muscle that turns a pause into power even when you're tired, cornered, or convinced you're right. You're going to practice widening the mental window through which you view a trigger so the room doesn't feel airless. Two frameworks will carry you. The first is the Window-Widen protocol. Pause, name the felt sense, zoom out one step, and then ask for evidence you've ignored. The second is the choice cascade. The smallest wise move that, once taken, makes the next two moves easier and kinder for everyone in the scene. You'll feel both in your body. You'll hear them as slightly different sentences. You'll see them shift the lighting of a room from interrogation lamp to morning sun. Begin with the window. When you're triggered, the window shrinks to a peephole. You see only threat. Your prefrontal cortex loses elbow room. The Window-Widen protocol is a three-breath ritual that moves you from peephole to picture window. Breath 1, name the felt sense, not the story, heat in the face, tight band around ribs, buzz under skin. Breath 2, zoom out, where am I? What time is it? Who else is here? Breath 3, hunt for ignored evidence. What's true that doesn't fit my fear? The act of naming recruits language. The zoom out recruits orientation circuits that calm the alarm. The evidence question interrupts the brain's habit of cherry-picking only data that proves your panic right. Try it now with a memory that still gives you a small jolt. Close your eyes for a moment and call up the scene. Your breath might quicken. Let your tongue rest, jaw slacken by a hair. Notice the felt sense. Perhaps your chest has a pressurized balloon feeling. That's breath 1. Breath 2, zoom out. See the room's edges, the chair you're in, the way the light lands on the nearest object. Breath 3, hunt ignored evidence. Also true, I handled things last week with more skill. Or also true, this person has given me a kind look before. Or even also true, I am safe in a chair right now. Safety is never just a concept, it's a place you can point to. Science simply, your amygdala's job is to spot tigers. It's allergic to nuance. The prefrontal cortex thrives on nuance. When you widen the window with orientation questions, your hippocampus feeds context to calm the alarm circuitry. When you name physical sensations, the insula, which maps your internal state, partners with language centers to reduce the raw surge. The point isn't to memorize anatomy, but to respect the design. Your system is built to calm when you give it place, time, and name. Add the choice cascade, not bold moves, not grand gestures. Cascades begin with stones so small you can flick them with a fingertip. You ask, what's the smallest wise move that makes the next wise move easier? Maybe it's a glass of water before a tense call. Maybe it's standing up before you speak so your breath can drop lower. Maybe it's one clarifying question before any defense. Cascades are anti-drama. They're practical. They turn idealism into choreography. A tired human can actually do on a Wednesday at 3:40 p.m. An anecdote to put skin on this. June, a new team lead, had a habit of hearing a question as a verdict. In a weekly review, his director said, "Walk me through your assumptions," and his throat seized. The peephole slammed down. He flashed to a graduate seminar where he'd been humiliated once for fumbling a model. He felt heat crawl up his neck. He wanted to flood the room with data to prove credibility. Instead, he reached for the Window-Widen protocol. Breath 1, heat in face. Breath shallow. Breath 2, conference room Wednesday 2:15, 4 colleagues, director's voice is even. Breath 3, ignored evidence. She uses the same phrase with peers she respects. Then the cascade, a smallest move to make the next one easier. He shifted his seat back 2 inches to straighten his spine so his breath had room. Second move, ask a clarifying question. Do you want the user data path or the financial model path first? The director smiled. User data first. The room relaxed. June found a groove. He left the meeting proud not of brilliance, but of sequence. Pause and check your senses. The air on the inside of your nostrils is cool, then warmer as it leaves. Your shoulders held a shape you didn't authorize, let them slope half a degree. The fabric at your lower back presses gently, feel how gravity is a steady, polite hand. A faint scent, paper, soap, dust, gives your brain a place to settle that isn't in the fight. This is not an intermission. It's rehearsal while the orchestra tunes. You'll add a micro drill called 3-channel check, which keeps the window wide. There are 3 channels in any moment: body sensations, mental pictures, and spoken words. When triggered, you confuse channels and argue with ghosts. The drill is simple. In one breath, name 1 item per channel. Body, pins and needles in hands. Picture, boss frowning by the window. Words, we need to talk. Then ask, which channel can I influence right now? Often, it's the words. You can change the sentence you speak. Sometimes it's the body. You can change the speed of your exhale. Choose one channel and nudge it. The other channels follow like iron filings to a magnet. A home scene to anchor the drill. On a Sunday evening, Ren's teenage daughter came in past curfew. Keys clattered. The clock glared 12:41 a.m. Ren's jaw clicked. The movie in his mind showed 1,000 worst-case outcomes condensed into one breath. The words he wanted to use would scorch. 3-channel check. Body, jaw tight, chest hot. Picture, headlights on a dark road. Words, do you even care about this house? Which channel could he influence without delay? Words. He swapped the script. I'm going to the kitchen for water. We'll talk in the morning when I'm calm enough to listen. He felt foolish for being measured. He felt powerful in the same moment. By morning, the conversation had accountability without fire. He told his daughter the truth about fear. She told him the truth about pressure. The house remained a place where learning could happen. Sensory beat again. The skin at your temples is warmer than your cheekbones. Your eyes can soften, widening the field, taking pressure off the tunnel. Your tongue is heavy when it drops. Feel how that relaxes the throat so breath can land lower. A whisper of air glides across the top of your hands. The chair meets you exactly where you are. Notice how naming neutral data loosens the grip of a heated thought. Let's tack on a method for moments when words from someone else scrape an old wound. It's called the 2-seat replay. You imagine 2 chairs in your mind. In one sits the person in front of you with their current age, stress, and constraints. In the other sits a ghost figure from your past, the teacher, parent, coach, or boss whose voice your nervous system still obeys. You ask, which seat am I reacting to? If it's the ghost, you say inwardly, thank you for trying to keep me safe back then. I've got this now. Then you turn your face toward the actual person and ask one concrete question about the present. The point is not therapy in the moment, it's accuracy. Accuracy cools. A quick science moment with a lever attached. Your negativity bias is a survival feature, not a personal failing. It gives extra weight to what feels dangerous. Window-Widen works because attention is a vote. When you cast one vote for safety cues you can verify, a door, a clock, a friendly face, you rebalance the ballot. The choice cascade works because small actions rewire predictive models. After a month of tiny wise moves, your brain quietly updates. When challenged, we slow down and ask, we're okay. You don't need belief, you need reps. Here's a micro-practice to sneak in between meetings or during a commute, the one-breath boundary. It's a single inhale with a tag on the exhale, not mine. When someone dumps urgency that isn't yours to carry, the exhale marks the edge of your skin. Do it with a half smile, not defiance. Then ask a boundary question, what is within my control right now? If the answer is clarify scope, Your next line might be, "Happy to help. Can you specify the 2 outcomes you need by today?" The breath saves you from volunteering your nervous system to every fire. Return to story. In a small design studio, Layla's colleague, bright and brilliant, often lobbed last-minute requests wrapped in praise and panic. "You're the only one who can fix this by tonight." Layla's chest tightened each time, her people-pleasing reflex sprinted ahead. She started practicing the one-breath boundary, inhale, exhale with "not mine." Then the choice cascade. "If I clarify before I commit, I save future Layla," she wrote. "Can you list the exact edits and the deadline?" "If it's tonight, I can take the logo sizing but not the layout. If it's tomorrow, I can do both." The colleague adjusted the ask. Her nights returned to the life she actually wanted. Check your senses again, the low hum under the floor, the whisper of fabric as you shift, the coolness along the ridge of your ear. Your breath has more room now because you made room. It isn't mystical. It's cause and effect, rehearsed until it feels like you. There's another small practice for the inner critic who hijacks pauses with sly insults. Call it the balcony sentence. From the balcony where your awareness stands, speak to yourself as if you were a trusted colleague you respect. One sentence, steady, grounded. "I see you pausing, take the next small step." Or clarity over speed, ask the simplest question. The balcony voice is not cheerleading. It's a calm project manager. It cuts through noise. And you'll notice how your muscles obey a kindly directive faster than a threat. A personal scene to test the limit. After a long day, you scroll past a friend's announcement of a promotion. Your stomach drops as if the floor gave way. The story gallops. You're behind, you're late, you're losing, the peephole is tiny. Window-Widen protocol felt sense, hollowness under ribs. Orientation, your room, your lamp, your breath. Ignored evidence. You've made 2 quiet moves this month no one sees. Choice cascade, smallest wise move that helps the next one. You place the phone face down and stand to drink water because envy dries your mouth and narrows your breath. Next move, you write 1 sentence for tomorrow's task that moves your project forward. Last move, you send your friend a genuine line of congrats. 3 stones, rolling, become a calmer night. Sensory beat. The water glass is cool, condensation dotting your fingers. The first sip is colder than the second. Your breath lengthens without permission. The window reflects a softer face back at you than the one you feared a minute ago. Simple details, measurable impact. Now anchor the day's learning with a 2-minute journal called Proof of Pause. Tonight, write 2 lines. "I widened the window when," which let me notice, and "my smallest wise move was," which made easier. These are not affirmations. They are evidence. Evidence trains your RAs to spot what you want more of. The next time a trigger arrives, it won't feel like a test you might fail. It will feel like a familiar drill you can run in your sleep. If sleep itself is where triggers visit, use the night reset, an offshoot of Window-Widen. Sit at the edge of the bed, place 1 hand on your chest, 1 on your belly. Breathe 4-4-6. Name the felt sense as a color or texture, gray static, red wool. Orient, the clock's digits, the outline of the door, the steady weight of your legs. Evidence you've ignored, you made it through other nights. Then the choice cascade. Write 1 sentence on a sticky note, a single tiny plan for morning, then put the note where your morning eyes will land. Your system needs a picture of tomorrow's first, smallest step. That picture is a lullaby for the part that thinks survival depends on rumination. You are becoming the person who doesn't mistake urgency for importance. You are training your nervous system to recognize the difference. You can feel the shift because your body tells the truth. There's less heat in your cheeks. There's more weight in your seat. Your breath doesn't claw upward, it fans out sideways. Your voice drops half a note when you speak after a pause. People respond to the timbre, not just the words. Rooms change temperature when you're in them, because rooms are collections of nervous systems, and yours is becoming a thermostat, not a thermometer. Remember the identity beneath all of this. You are the awareness behind the window, not the storm outside it. You are the chooser of cascades, not the pawn of impulses. When you forget, as you will remember faster. That's progress you can measure by seconds, not months. The pause is no longer an emergency brake. It is how you drive. Let the last sensory beat settle you. The breath you're taking right now begins cool, flows past the back of your throat, and leaves a little warmer, as if your body is proof that change is happening even when you're still. The floor holds you. The room makes room. The window is wider than when you began reading, and your next smallest wise move is already closer to hand. You're going to learn how to turn raw emotion into usable energy, not by suppressing it, but by changing its form. Think of a kettle on a stove. Left alone, it screams. Lifted and poured, it becomes tea. Two frameworks will help you lift and pour. The first is the emotional alchemy ladder: label, locate, lower, and leverage. You label the emotion with simple words. You locate it precisely in the body. You lower its intensity by one rung with breath and micro-movements. Then you leverage the remaining energy toward a value-aligned action. The second is the three-perspective reframe: me, you, view. You tell the story from your perspective, from the other person's best plausible perspective, and from the balcony view that cares only about what moves the moment forward. You don't need to like the other person's perspective to imagine it. You only need it to widen the lane where choice lives. Before we climb, let your senses set the stage. Notice air cooling the tips of your nostrils as it enters, warming slightly as it leaves. Let the tongue soften from the roof of your mouth. Feel the throat widen a fraction, as if a tight ring just loosened. Your shoulders are not football pads. Allow them to slant down by a degree. The chair under you is a patient witness. Feel its quiet solidity. A faint hum, appliance, traffic, wind threads through the room. These details don't solve the problem. They make your nervous system available to solve it. Begin with the first rung, label. Use plain language: anger, fear, sadness, shame, envy. Skip poetry for the first 30 seconds. Your brain doesn't need metaphor when the alarm rings, it needs categories. Then locate. Where exactly is it? Not everywhere, but 2 inches left of sternum, behind eyes, right jaw hinge. Precision recruits your insula, the brain's map of what's happening inside you, and maps are calming. Now lower. Pick one of 3 levers: breath 4-4-6, micro-movement, relax the brow, unclench the hands, or temperature, cool water on wrists, a splash on cheeks. Lower doesn't mean make it vanish. It means reduce the volume by 1 click. Finally, leverage. Ask, what does this emotion want for me if it were on my side? Anger might want protection or boundary. Fear might want preparation. Sadness might want honoring. Then pick the smallest action that honors that want without collateral damage. Label, locate, lower, leverage. A ladder sturdy enough to stand on. Here's the science ribbon you can tie around the ladder. Labeling recruits language circuits that dampen limbic reactivity. Locating upgrades vague threat into specific sensation, which the brain can metabolize. Lowering via long exhale and facial softening tilts your autonomic system toward calm, throttling back adrenaline. Leveraging directs remaining arousal toward prefrontal planning. Simple moves, measurable chemistry, not theory, technique. Try it now with something mild but real. Think of a recent email that irritated you. Label, irritation edging into anger. Locate, a hot line under the cheekbones, a pressure at the temples. Lower, inhale 4, hold 4, exhale 6. On the exhale, slacken your jaw by a hair and let your hands rest heavier. Leverage. Anger wants protection. The smallest wise move is to ask for specificity instead of defending your worth. You write one sentence, steady tone. Could you highlight the 2 sections you'd like revised by EOD? You're not shrinking, you're pouring. Sensory beat. The fabric on your forearms has a grain you can feel when you drag a fingertip slowly. The light in the room lands on a single edge, mug, pen, screen, making a thin, bright line. Your ribs open sideways like a book on the inhale. Your belly drops a centimeter on the exhale. You have a body. Your body has levers. Use them. Let's bring in the 3 perspective reframe. Me, I'm worried this feedback means I'm failing. You, from their side, they might be under pressure. Blunt words are faster. View, the balcony cares about moving the work forward with minimal damage. Ask the balcony, what would move this forward? It often answers with a boring, powerful line, clarify scope, confirm next step. You don't have to agree with the other person's style. You only need to stop letting your amygdala treat every clipped sentence as a verdict on your identity. The reframe needs oxygen back into nuance. A story to nail it to the floor. Sarai coached a community program that ran on thin budgets and thinner patience. A parent left a voicemail heavy with accusation. Your volunteers don't care. My kid was ignored. Sarai's chest heated, her throat tightened. She felt the ancient tug to justify, to point to her hours and the numbers she'd saved. Emotional alchemy ladder. Label, anger with a sting of shame. Locate, heat along the collarbones, a granular buzz in the cheeks. Lower, she turned on cold water and let it run over her wrists for 10 seconds, then breathed 446 twice, jaw soft. Leverage, anger wanted protection for her team. What protects them most is clarity and respect. She dialed back. Me, you view me, I care, that message hurt. You, they fear their child's needs were missed. View, the balcony wants accuracy and repair. She called and said, I'm sorry your child felt unseen. Can we walk through the timeline so I can fix what's in my control? The parent's tone shifted. A misunderstanding about sign-in sheets surfaced. The conversation ended with a plan to add a hand signal for help. Sarai hung up steady. She hadn't swallowed her anger. She'd poured it into a channel that irrigated the ground. You will be tempted to skip the locate step, especially when you're sure you know the story. Don't. Location puts handles on fog. Notice the exact temperature change on your skin. Notice the way your toes curl in your shoes. Notice the micro tremor at the edge of your hands. These are not small, they are the dials on the dashboard. When you touch them, the car stops fishtailing. Add a micro drill called the 131 journal. 1 sentence to label and locate. Anger in the jaw and chest. 3 sentences to explore leverage. Anger wants me to name a boundary. The boundary is about the process, not my worth. The smallest wise move is to ask for a time window next time. 1 sentence to choose action. At 9 a.m., I'll request a 24-hour turnaround for non-urgent asks. Keep it on an index card. Keep it boring. Boring is reliable. Reliable builds identity. Another story, this one close to home. Devin and Amal had a running friction about dinner. Devin loved spontaneous eating times. Amal liked ritual. One night at 8:30, Amal was hungry and hurt, and the sentence ready to leave their mouth would have scorched the room. Emotional alchemy ladder. Label, hurt with an edge of anger. Locate, hollow under the ribs, a tight circle at the throat. Lower, exhale long, place a palm on the belly, feel the belly respond. Leverage, hurt wants acknowledgement. Me you view me, I want to feel considered. You Devon loses time in flow, not in malice. View, what moves the moment forward? A single sentence emerged. I feel disregarded when dinner drifts late. Can we set a 7:30 anchor 3 nights a week? It wasn't magic, but it was specific. Over weeks, the house softened. Rituals grew roots. Spontaneity found other hours to play. Another sensory beat. The room's air touches the inside of your nose differently than the outside of your upper lip. The left hand is slightly cooler than the right. A line of tension across your forehead dissolves when you imagine your eyebrows drifting apart by a millimeter. The back of your neck widens when you think of space between vertebrae. Small, precise, effective. There will be days when the alchemy feels slow, when you label and locate and the temperature barely drops. That's okay. On those days, use the 90-second weather rule as a companion. Set the inner timer, return your attention to a single anchor, breath, feet, or hands, and refuse to attach meaning to the wave. Do not add gasoline thoughts. Let chemistry do what chemistry does. Then even if the emotion stays at a 6, leverage anyway. At 6, I can still choose a gentle tone. At 6, I can still ask for time. At 6, I can still postpone the hard conversation until morning. Mastery isn't the absence of weather, it's the reliability of your umbrella. Add one more tool to your belt, the micro-boundary line. It's a sentence you memorize for moments when your system is loud and someone presses for an answer. I want to give this the attention it deserves. Can we pick this up at 2 p.m.? Or, I need a moment to think so I don't answer from heat. You're not stonewalling. You're refusing to donate your nervous system to chaos. Say it once, then return to the ladder. Lower leverage. For the skeptic part of you that wonders if this is all just self-soothing, consider this. Every leader you respect has a version of this inside them. They don't crush feelings, they convert them. Anger becomes clear direction. Fear becomes contingency planning. Sadness becomes tenderness that keeps teams and families from cracking under pressure. Emotional alchemy is not coddling, it's craft. Another anecdote in a fluorescent-lit office. Omar, a product manager, watched a demo crash in front of 40 people. A hush, then a snicker from the back. His face went hot. His inner prosecutor shouted, "Find the saboteur." Label, anger, shame, locate, needles across the scalp, coals in the chest. Lower, he exhaled until his shoulders dropped. He rolled his wrists slowly under the table to blade off motor tension. Leverage, anger wanted protection for the team's months of work. Protection here meant salvaging user trust. Me, you view me, I'm furious and embarrassed. You stakeholders fear delays. View, what moves the moment forward, he said level. We're switching to a recorded walkthrough so you can see the flow. We'll send a root cause report by tomorrow, including fixed timelines. The room reoriented. Afterward, he found the snickerer who turned out to laugh when nervous. No saboteur. Just a human system. Omar wrote the 131 journal that night anyway. Reps make the craft available faster next time. Sensory beat. Your breath now reaches lower without much effort. The room's light has shifted a degree from when you started. A shadow moved half an inch along a surface. Your feet spread slightly inside your shoes, claiming ground. Weight gathers kindly in the chair, as if the room agrees you can rest while you choose. Here's a practice for evenings called the ladder walkback. Choose one moment from the day that still glows with residue. Close your eyes. Walk backward through the 4 rungs. Label what you felt then. Locate where it sat. Lower now one long exhale, a palm on the belly. Leverage, picture the smallest wise move you took or could take tomorrow. Don't write a page. Whisper one sentence. Your brain counts whispers when they're precise. Then sleep. Add the identity turn that makes this more than hacks. You are not the storm that passes through your chest. You are the person who can climb a ladder while the storm throws rain sideways. You are not the first sharp story your mind tells. You are the author who chooses the next sentence. When you forget, you are the one who remembers sooner. That remembering is the muscle growing. Feel it. To close, anchor the three-perspective reframe with a quick drill you can do while standing in a hallway or waiting on hold. Speak one sentence in your head without adjectives, only facts. You, grant the other person one plausible non-malevolent motive. View, ask, what would reduce total suffering in this room by one notch? Then act on that answer. If it's silence, choose silence. If it's a question, choose the simplest question. If it's a boundary, choose the kindest wording that is still firm. Over weeks, your reputation changes in ways you can't measure on a spreadsheet. Fewer flare-ups around you, more clarity after you speak, more relief in your own bones. Let the final sensory beat seal the lesson. Inhale, cool, steady. Exhale, warm, longer by a count. The skin along your jaw softens, the back of your eyes relaxes. Somewhere in the room, a clock ticks or a soft noise repeats. Let it be proof you exist in time, not trapped in this single moment. Your pause is a room, the ladder stands in the center, the window looks out on choices. You're already closer to the handle than you were when you began. Reach, breathe, step. Today you'll build a repeatable ritual for moments when you know better, but still feel the old pattern tugging on your sleeve. This is where willpower usually limps. Instead of gritting your teeth, you'll install choreography. Two frameworks do the work. The first is the 2-minute sanctuary, a portable sequence that resets your nervous system and points it toward what matters, anywhere, at your desk, in a stairwell, in a parked car. The second is the values compass. 4 quiet questions that aim your next sentence and step, so you stop winning short arguments and start winning long games. Together, they make the pause feel less like a gap and more like a doorway you're proud to walk through. The 2-minute sanctuary has 4 moves that fit inside a single song intro. You set the room, even if the room is only the space behind your eyelids. You settle the body with a precise breath. You script one anchor word that reminds your brain who you are. You select one smallest wise move that serves your future self. Set, settle, script, select. If you can give yourself 120 seconds, you can change what happens in the next 20 minutes. Start by setting. Look for 3 rectangles, screen, window, notebook, or 3 circles, cup, rim, clock, a button. Naming shapes tells your orienting system, we are somewhere, not everywhere. Then settle with a breath pattern called 4-2-8. Inhale for 4, hold for 2, exhale for 8. The long tail on the exhale drags adrenaline down like a magnet drags filings. Script your anchor word next. Pick something that carries a whole sentence inside a single syllable. Steady, kind, clear, leader. Finally, select your smallest move, the one that makes later choices easier. Ask for clarity, delay send, drink water, open calendar. You'll repeat this ritual in ordinary minutes until it's ready for extraordinary ones. Pause and notice the world touching your skin. Air cools the inner rims of your nostrils, then exits warmer against your upper lip. The fabric at your shoulders makes a light, steady pressure you can track for 3 breaths. The chair cradles the back of your thighs. Gravity answers any question about whether you are supported. A faint mechanical hum or a subtle outside noise threads through the moment. You're not hunting comfort, you're collecting facts. Your system trusts facts. The values compass prevents performance without direction. You ask 4 questions in order. What do I stand for here? What outcome matters most in the long run? What's in my control in the next 2 minutes? What tiny action signals who I am? The compass is not a moral lecture. It's a tool that keeps you from trading reputation for relief. If you stand for clarity and the long-run outcome is trust, and your control is the tone and timing of your reply, then the tiny action might be pause 30 seconds, then ask for the top priority. The compass lives best on paper you can see. One sticky note on your monitor: stand, clarity, outcome, trust, control, tone plus timing. Action, ask, top priority. Your brain loves cues, give it one. A story to fix the shapes to a face. Zadie, a senior nurse on a crowded ward, was 6 hours into a shift when a physician snapped at her in the hallway about a charting delay. The fluorescent lights felt like accusation. The tile floor carried every footfall like a drum. Heat leapt to her throat. The retort she could have delivered would have made the break room cheer, but the aftertaste would last. She ducked into the supply closet. 2 minutes. Set, she named 3 rectangles: the cabinet door, the clipboard, the light panel. Set 3 circles: the lid on a saline bottle, the cart's wheel, the clock face. Settle 428 twice, letting the exhale empty as if wringing out a cloth. Script: steady, select, smallest wise move, clarify, not clash. She stepped back into the hallway and said evenly, I hear the urgency. Which patient do you want prioritized right now so I can adjust? The physician's shoulders dropped. He named the room. Later, he apologized. The ward stayed a place where people could be human without burning. Zadie went back to her rounds with a quiet chest and a reputation that did not need defending. Let your senses lift another layer of noise off your mind. The muscles at the back of your neck can widen by a thumb's breadth, creating a small sense of space between skull and spine. Your tongue, heavy when it rests, gives your jaw permission to release one notch. The skin on your forearms registers a slight temperature difference from your palms. Cold means aliveness, not danger. A tiny sound in the room, the tick, the hum, the distant voice, proves you exist in a larger field than the one problem you're thinking about. Here's the science in simple clothes. Your brain's prediction engine loves routines. It prefers known sequences because they cost less energy. When you practice the 2-minute sanctuary outside of crisis, you teach your system to default to calm choreography under pressure. The anchor word recruits your language networks. Even single syllables shift neural activity away from raw limbic surges. The compass questions activate the prefrontal cortex. Values are long horizon maps, and map reading is a frontal lobe specialty. You are not suppressing feeling. You're assigning it a job and giving your executive brain a steering wheel it can actually grip. We'll add a micro drill that nests inside the sanctuary. Call it the single-line contract. It's a sentence you speak to yourself that binds you to a behavior for the next 2 minutes only. For the next 2 minutes, I will breathe 428 and say only questions. Or, for the next 2 minutes, I will type, not send. Or, for the next 2 minutes, I will walk to the window and feel my feet. 2-minute promises are easy to keep. Kept promises change identity. Identity keeps promises without asking. Another anecdote, this one with money on the table. Armin, co-founder of a small software firm, was on a video call with a potential investor who started poking holes with a surgeon's focus. Armin felt his trapezius muscles harden into granite. His breath climbed into his throat. His voice sharpened to defend. He remembered the sanctuary. He shifted his gaze to 3 rectangles: the monitor, the framed photo, a book's spine. He ran 428 twice, letting the 8 count stretch his ribs sideways. He whispered, clear. Then he asked the values compass rapid fire, Stand, candor, outcome, long-term partnership. Control, tone, pacing, what to ask. Action, name what you don't know. He said, great questions. Here's what we can prove and here's what we're testing. Which risks worry you most so we can show you our mitigation plan? The investor's face softened. Later, she admitted she'd been testing for ego. The deal moved forward. Armin didn't ace a debate, he passed a character test. The pause did the talking. Let your body give you proof you're not just imagining all this. As you inhale, notice the ribs slide apart like two smooth doors. As you exhale for 8, feel the belly lower and the shoulders follow, a soft descent. The fingertips tingle a little as vessels reopen from micro-tension. The air seems to slow by itself. Your eyes widen their field, letting periphery dim but present. The room becomes larger than the thought that had filled it. Fold in a refinement called the if-then gate, a cousin to implementation intentions. If I feel the heat in my cheeks and the rush to reply, then I will run one sanctuary cycle and check my values compass before I say anything. If the calendar surprise lands and the urge to blame rises, then I will text, need 5 to respond well, and breathe 428 twice. If a loved one uses a tone that scrapes an old wound, then I will drop into the word kind and ask one question about impact instead of intent. You're preloading doors into the hallway of your day so you can walk through them when the lights blink. There's a corner of your life where you'll need the sanctuary most, when you're exhausted. Fatigue shrinks windows and makes dignity feel expensive. Prepare a version you can run half asleep. No shapes, no questions, just exhale 8, whisper the anchor word, perform the smallest move, sip water, delay send, say, I want to answer this well, give me till morning. Walking away is sometimes the kindest selection your compass can make. Now work the values compass on paper. Write the situation at the top, team conflict about deadlines. Then write in 4 lines, stand, respect plus clarity, outcome, sustainable pace plus mutual trust, control, my pace plus my words plus my asks, action, propose a weekly 15-minute scope check, tape the paper inside your notebook. The next time voices rise, you're not asking your future stressed self to invent wisdom, you're handing them instructions. A home scene to bring it closer. You come back late tired and your roommate left a sink full of dishes again. Your body writes a script in caps. Pause at the doorway. Set 3 shapes, the windowpane pattern, the cutting board, the handle on the fridge. Settle with 428, script, respect. Select the smallest move. Name impact, ask for a specific shift. Values compass flashes. You stand for fairness, you want a home that feels cooperative next month, you control your tone and request. You say, when I come home to this, I feel like the load isn't shared. Can we set a dishes cleared by 9 p.m. norm and a backup plan for late nights? You don't need them to clap, you need the house to change. 2 weeks later, the kitchen is not a battlefield. It's a room that holds food and conversation again. Let your senses offer a final set of facts before we add one more tool. The room's light has shifted since you began this page. A shadow moved a small distance along an object. The air you breathe now feels smoother than 5 minutes ago. The skin at your temples is warmer than the bridge of your nose. Your feet occupy more surface area inside your shoes. You've spread into the present. Add the calibration question, a single line that keeps you from overcorrecting or underreacting. What level of response preserves both dignity and momentum? Dignity for you, momentum for the work or the relationship. Sometimes that means a gentle boundary. Sometimes that means silence. Sometimes that means a direct ask. Pair it with the 1-breath boundary you learned earlier and the 2-question reframe, and you've got a triangle that rarely fails. Breathe, ask what preserves dignity and momentum, then ask either what else might be true or what matters most now. Here's a tiny nightly practice to weld identity to action. Call it the 2 receipts. Before bed, write 2 3-word receipts for your day that prove you used the sanctuary and the compass. Paused before send, asked top priority, chose kind word, delayed late email, drank water first, clarified scope fast. The receipts are not for social media, they're for your nervous system. You're training the internal accountant to count sanity, not drama. Over time, the receipts stack into a different self-concept. I am someone who pauses and proceeds with purpose. Another story to show repair powered by ritual. Nikhil snapped at his sister on the phone about family plans. He hung up and felt the sour aftershock in his chest. Old him would avoid the discomfort for days. New him walked to the window and ran the 2-minute sanctuary, set shapes, 428 twice. Anchor word, accountable. Values compass, stand honesty, outcome connection, control his tone and the timing of a call, action, call back with a clean apology and a simple ask. He dialed. I'm sorry I snapped. I was stressed and took it out on you. I want to figure out the plan. Can we reset? She exhaled. They did. The pause was not a stall. It was a way back to the person he wants to be. Give yourself one more sensory pause. The breath enters cool, exits warm. The chest moves not only forward but also sideways, a sign of deeper, easier respiration. The room meets you where you are. The sounds around you are proof of life continuing. Your system settles by degrees. You are present enough to choose. Identity time, because this is where the ritual becomes a trait. You are not a person who occasionally remembers a trick. You are the kind of person who builds sanctuaries on the fly and navigates by values in rooms that forget theirs. You are not the surge of heat. You are the keeper of the compass. You are the awareness that notices and names, the author who writes the next clean sentence. When you feel small, remember, the sanctuary fits in 2 minutes because you are bigger than the moment trying to shrink you. Practice the 2-minute sanctuary once per day when nothing is wrong. Practice the values compass once per week on something that matters. When the hard moment arrives, your body will start the ritual for you. It will find rectangles, lengthen the exhale, whisper the word, point to the smallest wise move. Your mouth will shape sentences that protect dignity and momentum without borrowing the future's energy. People will wonder when you got so calm. The answer won't be a seminar. It will be 2 minutes, stolen from chaos, given back to character. Close this chapter with a live run. Set, find 3 shapes right now. Settle, breathe 428 once. Script, pick 1 word and let it sit on your tongue. Select, choose one smallest wise move you will take in the next 5 minutes after you finish reading. Then, with the values compass beside you, consider one situation on your horizon and write the 4 lines. Stand, outcome, control, action. Fold the paper. Put it where your hand will touch it tomorrow. You're not hoping to be the person who chooses well, you're rehearsing it. The pause is your stage. The ritual is your choreography. The compass is your light. Feel the world one last time before you move. Cool in, warm out. The slight looseness at the base of your skull. The softer skin around your eyes. The steady weight of your body on a surface that holds you without asking anything back. You're ready to turn triggers into choices again, not because life is easy, but because you've built a way to be yourself when it is. Today you'll turn the pause into a boundary that protects what matters without turning you into a wall. Boundaries are not barbed wire, they're door frames with hinges that swing on values. When you don't have a boundary architecture, triggers draft your calendar and your mouth writes checks your nervous system can't cash. When you do, the same trigger becomes a cue to answer with dignity. Two frameworks will carry the weight. The first is the boundary bridge: acknowledge, specify, request, and resource. You acknowledge the other party's stake, specify your limit in concrete terms, request the next step, and point to a resource or alternative so the bridge goes somewhere. The second is the 5% firmer rule. You deliver your boundary at 5% more firmness than your default, not 50. 5% is the difference between a tremor and a steady hand. It keeps you from overcorrecting into harshness that explodes trust. Before we build, let your senses clock in. Feel cool air slip past your nostrils and exit warmer against your upper lip. Notice a soft ache at the base of the skull and imagine the space between vertebrae widening by a thread. Your shoulders can lower a millimeter. Gravity helps. The chair holds your weight without negotiating. A small sound, HVAC, street noise, a clock anchors you in time. None of this is decorative. Sensation makes room for choice. Start with the boundary bridge. Step 1, acknowledge, not flattery, not surrender, simple recognition. I see the urgency. I hear you want this today. I get that this matters to you. Step 2, specify. Name your limit in units of behavior, time, energy, or scope. No abstractions. I can review 2 pages. I'm off after 6 p.m. I don't discuss finances by text. Step 3, request. Tell the scene what should happen next. Send the 2 most critical slides. Let's schedule for 10 tomorrow. Please ask via the shared board. Step 4, resource. Offer a path that isn't you or isn't now. Here's the template. Check the FAQ. Jamal can help with that. Use the form. Response in 24 hours. The bridge carries them from want to solution without burning you to build it. Science bridge in plain language. When you announce a boundary with acknowledgement first, you calm the other person's amygdala by signaling belonging. Belonging reduces threat signaling. Specificity engages the prefrontal cortex, yours and theirs, because exact numbers, times, and nouns are processing catnip for planning circuits. A clear request reduces ambiguity, which your brain treats as danger. And a resource route preserves cooperation chemicals, oxytocin and serotonin, so the relationship can keep breathing while the limit holds. Boundaries that ignore chemistry backfire. Boundaries that recruit it become culture. Work it live with a scenario you've probably met. A colleague pings at 5:24 p.m. Quick favor. Your stomach tightens, heat crawls up your neck. The old script says yes, then resentment collects with interest. Boundary bridge, acknowledge, I see this feels urgent. Specify, I'm offline after 6. Request, send the top 2 questions. Resource, if it needs tonight, the launch checklist covers 80%. Page 4 has the steps. That's not cold, that's care with rails. If you add the 5% firmer rule, your tone drops half a note, your pace slows, and you remove apologetic padding. I'm offline after 6 lands differently than sorry I can't right now, I'm so swamped maybe later. The first is a doorframe. The second is a curtain in a draft. Pause to feel the flesh and blood version of firmness. The breath you're taking can lengthen by 1 count on the exhale. Your jaw unhooks when your tongue drops from the roof of your mouth. The skin along your temples warms. Your feet spread inside your shoes, claiming a little more surface area. Boundaries begin in muscles before they ever reach your mouth. Add a micro drill called BLUF plus boundary, bottom line up front, then the bridge. It goes like this: 1 sentence with the non-negotiable, then the 4 steps compressed. Bottom line, I can deliver a draft by Friday. I know you want it sooner. I'm at capacity. Send the 3 must-haves and use the spec sheet tonight. BLUF rescues you from a paragraph of nervous context that reads like permission to push. It's not aggression, it's orientation. Your system likes orientation. Your calendar loves it. Story time. Danny, a project coordinator, was known as reliable, which in her office meant available at all hours. A senior partner would text at 10:43 p.m., need deck by 7. Danny's throat tightened, the tinny taste of adrenaline rising. Old script, say yes, cry later, caffeinate tomorrow. New script, boundary bridge with 5% firmer. She typed, I see it's urgent, I'm offline now. I can deliver a clean version by 11 a.m. if you need overnight. The latest deck lives in Drive. Duplicate and tweak slides 3-7. She felt her heart hammer, then slow by degrees. The partner wrote, 11 works. 2 weeks later, late texts dropped by half. Danny didn't become unhelpful, she became legible. There's a home version with equal stakes. A sibling calls to vent again just as you're putting your kid to bed. Your chest tightens, a hot circle at the throat. You care and you're tired. Boundary bridge, I want to hear you. I'm putting them down now. Can I call you at 8:30 or do you want to text 3 lines and I'll respond then? You acknowledged, specified, requested, resourced. Notice the body, your shoulders lower because you stood for both people. That's the core of a clean boundary. 2 truths, 1 limit. Sensory beat. Feel the coolness on the ridge of your ears compared to your cheeks. Notice the way your ribs expand sideways like a book opening on the inhale. The exhale drops the belly by a centimeter. The room's light has shifted since you began reading, a shadow edged across a surface. Small facts. They quiet big noise. Let's layer in the boundary calibration grid, a mental map with 2 axes, firmness and warmth. You can be warm and firm, warm and flexible, cool and firm, or cool and flexible. Most people under stress streak into cool firm or warm flexible by habit. The 5% firmer rule aims for warm firm, tone steady, words clear, respect intact. To calibrate, pick 1 word for tone, steady, warm, brief, and 1 number for specificity, 2 items by 15 minutes. Then test the line out loud once. If it sounds like a closing argument, add a thread of warmth, I appreciate the push. If it sounds like a shrug, add a unit, I can do 2, not 6. You're tuning an instrument, not swinging a hammer. Anecdote in a glass-walled meeting room. Priya, a UX lead, had scoped a sprint with her team. Midway through the week, a stakeholder walked in with 3 quick additions. Priya felt the pressure cooker hiss in her ears. Old move, absorb, distribute the pain, burn the weekend. New move, boundary bridge plus calibration grid. I appreciate the ideas, she said, warm, firm voice. We're at capacity this sprint. I can swap 2 items if we remove 2 or schedule these for next sprint. Which serves you best? The stakeholder blinked. Remove 2, add 2. The team exhaled. The product moved forward without sacrificial labor. Priya wasn't difficult, she was precise. Senses again. The back of your eyes can soften. The muscles that make your focus narrow can relax 2 degrees. Your hands may tingle as micro-tensions release. Let them. The chair feels more like an ally than an object. Your breath is a metronome you conduct. Here's a companion framework for interpersonal static when a boundary is tested twice. The reset loop. It has 3 lines delivered in order. Line 1, restate the boundary. Line 2, state consequence without drama. Line 3, offer the bridge again. Example with a chronic interrupter. I want to hear you and I'm going to finish my thought. If the interruptions continue, I'll suggest we move this to email. If you can give me 1 minute, I'll hand it back to you. Restate, consequence, bridge, no heat. If the boundary is violated again, enact the consequence once without argument. The nervous system trusts what you do more than what you say. Micro-practice for the body called stance before sentence. When you anticipate delivering a boundary, place both feet flat, align your breath low, exhale longer, let your shoulders slide down, and imagine a line from your sternum to the person, a beam of clarity, not aggression. Then speak. Somatic cues alter how your voice vibrates. A slower exhale lowers vocal pitch, and lower pitch reads as confident without extra volume. You're not faking it. You're preparing the instrument that carries your intention. There will be moments when a boundary invites accusation. You've changed. You're not a team player. That's a test, not a verdict. Use the me view lens from earlier with a sentence called the integrity mirror. Me, I'm protecting my capacity to deliver quality. You, they fear being left to carry weight. View, what reduces total suffering? Then mirror with one line. I want to be reliable over the long run. This limit is how I protect that. You anchor in identity. You offer context without debate. A quick science detour with utility. Social pain, rejection, shaming lights up some of the same neural pathways as physical pain. That's why saying no feels like sticking your hand near a flame. When you pair a boundary with acknowledgement and resource, you cool those areas with cues of connection and predictability. And the repetition of clean delivery rewires your threat model. Saying no does not equal exile. That belief frees energy for work and love that used to feed anxiety. Story in the kitchen. Marisol's mother-in-law had a habit of dropping by without texting first. Marisol loved her and also wanted weekends with less surprise. Each knock stirred a sandstorm under her ribcage. One Saturday she breathed, softened her jaw, opened the door with a smile and built a bridge. I love seeing you. For us, drop-ins are hard. Would you text an hour before next time? If today is about the kids, we can meet at the park at 3. Acknowledge, specify, request, resource. The older woman frowned, then nodded. The next week, a text arrived at 1:47 p.m. Practice changes families. Sensory beat. The air on your forearms is cooler than your palms. The right shoulder sits half a degree higher than the left. Let it level. Your ribs expand more easily than 10 minutes ago. The room hum is steady, a thread you could follow with your ears if your eyes were closed. Another tool for tight corners, the 2-slot calendar rule. You offer 2 times that work for you rather than asking, when are you free? It's a boundary disguised as help. I can do Tuesday at 10 or Wednesday at 3. Add a resource if neither works, or send your top questions and I'll reply by EOD. You'll be tempted to add a dozen caveats. Don't. 2 slots, 1 bridge. Workplace vignette with teeth. Matteo led a small QA team. Another department routinely tossed bugs over the wall at the last minute. Matteo's pulse spiked every Thursday at 4 p.m. boundary plan. He sent a memo with the boundary bridge baked in. I know your deadlines are tight. QA turns around critical issues within 24 hours when submitted by 2 p.m. Thursday. After 2, we schedule for Monday to preserve accuracy. For late-breaking fires, use the red flag form. On-call rotation covers from 5-7 p.m. the first week. A director escalated. Matteo walked the reset loop. We are happy to help. Since this came after 2, it's scheduled Monday. If urgent, submit the red flag. On-call will triage tonight. The director huffed, then used the form. A month later, 4 p.m. storms shrank to drizzles. Calm is contagious, so are rules. Senses again. The bridge of your nose cool, the cheeks a touch warmer. Your eyes catch more periphery when your jaw is loose. The chair's edge meets your thighs. You can feel the exact line where support ends and air begins. Your breath, a thread you can find in any room. A boundary is a promise you make to your future self about the conditions under which you can be proud of your behavior. To keep it, rehearse. Tonight, write 3 lines you'll likely need this month. 1 for time, 1 for energy, 1 for scope. Time, I log off at 6. I'll pick this up at 9. Energy, I can attend, not late. Scope, I can take 2 of the 5. Say each once in a warm, firm voice. Your nervous system keeps recordings. Give it the track you want to play under pressure. Add the micro yes, tiny cooperation to smooth a larger no. No, I can't tonight. Yes, I can proof the opener tomorrow. No, I don't lend money. Yes, I can help you rewrite the budget. Micro yes keeps you generous without becoming a martyr. Pair it with the calibration question from before. What level of response preserves dignity and momentum? Then choose the smallest generous action within your limit. Identity turn, because this isn't about tricks, it's about who you are becoming. You are not a person who avoids conflict by dissolving. You are not a person who wins by crushing. You are the awareness that can stand in a doorway and choose how wide it opens. You are the author who writes clean sentences when adrenaline wants exclamation points. Boundaries don't make you hard, they keep you honest. One last story to etch the pattern. Tio co-founded a non-profit with his best friend. Success brought attention and 100 invitations. His inbox turned into a guilt museum. He decided to be a thermostat, not a thermometer. He wrote a public page with his boundary bridge embedded. We love collaborations. We review 2 proposals per month. If you don't hear back, please resubmit next quarter. For quick help, our resource library covers our most common questions. Then he practiced the 5% firmer rule in replies. We are honored you asked. We're at capacity this quarter. Please use the library. If it still fits, submit for October. Saying it felt like breaking a spell. It was. The spell was people-pleasing masquerading as kindness. In its place, clarity, generosity, endurance. The mission stopped drowning in other people's urgencies. Tio slept. Feel the body that will carry these words into rooms. Inhale, cool, steady. Exhale, warm, a shade longer. Your shoulders lower by a degree. Your gaze widens. You can imagine your next boundary landing in a voice you trust. That voice is already inside you. Practice lets it speak sooner. Tonight's drill is small and surgical. Pick one boundary you intend to hold this week. Write it in exact words a future tired you can read. Under it, write your bridge. Acknowledge, specify, request, resource. Read it out loud once while exhaling slower than you want. That pairing, breath and sentence burns a groove. When the moment comes, you won't scramble. You'll swing on hinges you installed on a quiet evening because you respect your time, your craft, and the humans you share rooms with. If you miss a boundary, repair is still a boundary. I said yes yesterday from stress. I'm correcting that. Here's what I can do instead. Kind, firm, brief. Your nervous system learns even then. You are the awareness, not the emotion, the author, not the avalanche. The person who uses pause to build bridges that carry everyone forward without breaking your back. One more sensory seal. The air leaves your lungs slower than it entered. The skin around your eyes loosens. The floor under your feet is unambiguous. It holds you. Your next conversation will, too, because you will hold your place in it. That is the quiet power of a boundary. It lets you stay. You'll refine the pause into something even quieter and more potent, choosing the voice in your head before it chooses you. Triggers don't just flood your body. They hire a narrator who sounds confident and grim. They don't respect you. This will fall apart. You always mess this up. Today you'll practice narrative control, the art of catching the sentence that spikes your chemistry and swapping it for one that keeps your spine and your standards. Two frameworks anchor the skill. The first is story surgery. Record, reveal, rerate, rewrite. You'll cut away heat from fact, test for missing evidence, dial down the threat rating, and write a sentence you can act on. The second is the director's slate, a 5-second ritual that marks a new take mid-scene, so your nervous system stops looping the worst cut and returns to the version where you lead. Start by noticing the body version of a harsh narrator. The breath climbs into the throat, your jaw presses your molars together as if bracing for impact. A thin heat crawls across the cheekbones. Let the tongue drop from the roof of your mouth. Inhale for 4, hold for a soft 2, exhale for 8. Feel cool air thread the inside of your nostrils and leave warmer across the center of your upper lip. The chair steals a little of your weight and keeps it. The light in the room paints a clean line along the rim of a nearby object. This is not decoration. This is audible proof to your threat system that you are here now with levers. Story surgery begins with record. You write or say in a whisper the exact sentence of your inner narrator, no adjectives added. My boss didn't reply to my message. They looked away during my presentation. The date texted K, then reveal. You ask, what's the hidden meaning my brain glued on? Maybe I'm not valued. I failed. They're done with me. You name the glue so you can remove it. Re-rate comes next. Out of 10, how certain is that meaning based only on evidence I could submit in a courtroom? Not vibes, not history, not tone, you guessed. Evidence. The number rarely stays at 9 once you ask like a scientist. It drops to 4 or 5. Finally, rewrite. One precise, behavior-friendly sentence that protects dignity and moves the moment forward. I'll ask, what's the priority so I can adjust? I'll send a one-line follow-up. I'll assume neutral and check once. You do Pollyanna the situation. You write a line you can say without clenching. A story from an open office where optimism went to nap by 3 p.m. Lewis sent a report at noon and watched Slack stay silent. The old narrator slid in. They hate it, you're slipping. His chest tightened, breath pinched. Record, no reply yet. Reveal, meaning equals I failed. Re-rate, evidence certainty dropped to 3 of 10. His manager was in back-to-backs. Rewrite, at 3:15 I'll send. Any edits you want me to prioritize by EOD. He breathed 428, shoulders lowering by a degree. At 3:02 a thumbs up landed with a note, reviewing now. The day didn't swing between doom and salvation, it walked. That is the goal, less whiplash, more walking. Feel your own walking pace return. Your ribs widen sideways on the inhale like a book opening. Your belly softens a centimeter on the exhale. Ambient sound, a distant car, the low hum of a vent, the faint friction of fabric as you shift, threads the present through your body. The narrator quiets when the senses speak. Now the director's slate. Picture a film set. The slate snaps before a take to mark the shot. Everyone aligns. Your version is 5 seconds and 4 words. Reset, new take. You fill the blank with your rewrite sentence. The snap is a physical cue, 2 gentle finger taps against your thigh or the desk. The words are spoken low, private, steady, snap. Reset, new take, ask one question. Snap. Reset, new take, delay, send. Your nervous system loves rituals. The slate tells your amygdala, scene change, and invites your prefrontal cortex back to the mic. Science bridge in common clothes. The brain is a prediction machine that hates ambiguity. It fills gaps with the fastest story that reduces uncertainty, even if the story hurts. Labeling the story recruits language networks that reduce limbic activation. Rating certainty forces your prediction engine to inventory data rather than vibes. Rewriting installs a new prediction to test. The slate wraps it in a motor pattern and sound, giving the hippocampus a context marker. We are now in take 2. This is not positive thinking. It's precision thinking under stress. Microdrill time, the 2-column fact frame. On the left, write what a camera recorded. On the right, write what your narrator added. Camera, 3 people glanced at phones. Narrator, I'm boring. Camera, partner's voice got louder. Narrator, they don't respect me. Then change one narrator line to a neutral competence line you can test. I'll ask for one takeaway they heard. I'll name the volume and ask about impact. Do it twice per day for a week on small scenes, standing in line, reading a text, walking into a room. You're not chasing perfection. You're teaching your RAS to prefer neutral handles to spiky conclusions. An anecdote at home under soft kitchen light. Nor found a pan in the sink after promising themselves not to keep score this week. The narrator cleared its throat. You're alone in this. Heat rose under the ribs, a tight circle forming at the base of the throat. Record, pan in sink. Reveal, meaning equals I'm unseen. Re-rate, certainty slid to 4, the partner had been on calls. Rewrite, I'll wash this, then ask at dinner for a 9 p.m. reset. Slate snap, reset. New take, make ask. At dinner, Nor said, when the sink stacks after 9, I feel behind. Can we reset by then? The night ended lighter, not because reality changed, but because the narrator did. Let your senses anchor you again. Notice the temperature difference between the back of your hands and your palms. Let your eyebrows drift apart by a millimeter. The forehead slackens. Air touches the ridge of your ears cooler than your cheeks. The chair keeps its promise to hold you. Small truths, immediate effects. Add a companion method called the 3-beat evidence test. When the narrator shouts, ask 3 beats, what else might be true that fits the same facts? What would I advise a friend with my exact evidence? What minimal experiment could test my rewrite in the next hour? This is cognitive science with boots on. Beat 1 creates multiple predictions. Beat 2 recruits compassion and reduces shame. Beat 3 turns thought into behavior, which is where rewiring resides. Another workroom story. May gave a talk and saw one face frown through 10 slides. The narrator pounced, you lost them. Record, 1 frown. Reveal, meaning equals bad talk. Re-rate, 3-3-beat test, also true the person had allergies. Friend advice would be to ask for takeaways. Experiment would be to DM, curious what stood out, anything unclear I can improve. The reply, loved slide 6, was squinting to read tiny font. The narrator sat down, a little embarrassed. You'll never fully evict it. You'll just stop letting it run the show. Sensory beat. Your breath lengthens without effort. The exhale draws a low arc, dropping the shoulders by half a degree. The room is a geography again, not a courtroom. A faint scent, coffee, paper, rain threads in. The mind unclenches its fist. Install one more drill, chapter titles. When a day goes sideways, title the moment like a book chapter you'd be proud to keep. The night I practiced asking. The meeting where I chose a question over a speech. The walk where I did chase the thought. Chapter titles shift identity silently. They make you the protagonist who learns, not the victim who loses. Write the title on a sticky note. Place it where your eyes land often. You are briefing your future self on who you are becoming. A scene in transit to test the tools when the body is already loud. Subway, evening rush, someone bumps your shoulder and doesn't apologize. Heat fires in the cheeks. The narrator throws a match. People are awful. Record, shoulder bump. Reveal, meaning equals disregard. Re-rate, 5 could be haste, not malice. Rewrite, reset the body, hold my bag closer, keep my gaze soft. Slate, tap thigh, reset. New take, keep dignity. You anchor sensation. Cool air in, warm out. Feet wide inside shoes, jaw slack by a hair. The moment passes without rent-free residence in your head all night. Science ribbon with a lever. The more you practice story surgery on low stakes, the faster your insular maps shifts in arousal, the quicker your anterior cingulate notices conflict between fact and story, and the easier your dorsolateral prefrontal cortex selects the rewrite. Translation: facts come into focus sooner, rewrites feel less fake, your body believes you. Neuroplasticity is repetition plus attention. You're giving both. Now braid the director's slate with the 2-minute sanctuary from earlier. When your narrator spikes, step out or turn inward. Set 3 shapes, settle 428, script a 1-word identity anchor like author, select your smallest move, then snap the slate with the rewrite, reset, new take, ask for scope. The ritual and the line together become muscle memory. That's why actors rehearse off stage. You're rehearsing off trigger, so on trigger your mouth finds the sentence without searching. Another grounded story, finances this time. Jamal opened a banking app and saw an unexpected charge. The narrator: "You're irresponsible." A hot drop landed in the stomach. Record: charge posted. Reveal: meaning equals "I can't manage money." Re-rate: evidence at 4. Rewrite: call bank, ask for merchant details, set a Thursday budget check. Slate snap, reset, new take, call calmly. On the phone, it turned out to be a subscription renewed without notice, refunded. He set the budget check. The narrator had volume, Jamal had a dial. Sensory beat. The space between your shoulder blades widens a finger's width when you imagine it. Your eyes soften, periphery returns. The skin at the temples is warmer than the bridge of the nose. Breathing becomes a slow pendulum. Thought storms lose their barbs when the body isn't a storm. There will be days when the narrator feels smarter than you, backed by piles of old evidence. On those days, do a 90-second weather watch while you write 1 line of rewrite with your non-dominant hand. The awkwardness slows you down, interrupts rumination, and signals novelty to the brain, opening a window for change. Then read the line aloud once at half volume. Your hearing trusts your voice when it's steady and soft more than your mind trusts silent arguments. Fold in one more identity tool, the inner editor. Imagine the version of you 5 years wiser sitting at a small wooden desk at the back of your mind. When the narrator starts dictating, you slide the page across the desk. The editor crosses out 3 exaggerated words and writes a line in the margin you can say today without self-betrayal. Too much certainty, the editor notes. Try, I don't have enough data, ask for 1 metric. This is not fantasy. It's a way to evoke the part of your brain already trained by everything you've survived. To close the loop, anchor tonight with the 2-minute proof log. Write 2 entries, the raw narrator line you caught and the rewrite you spoke. Narrator: you blew it. Rewrite: name the miss, fix the next step, send the follow-up by 10. You are training your attention to collect proof that you are the person who chooses your next sentence even when the old chorus sings loud. Proof changes identity from the inside out. A last story, small and ordinary, which is where life actually happens. A friend cancels lunch last minute. The narrator starts, "You're not a priority." Record: they cancelled. Reveal: meaning equals "I don't matter." Re-rate: 2, this friend has shown up all year. Rewrite: send, no worries, reschedule for next week. Wed author. Slate snap at the kitchen counter, fingertip tapping the wood. Breath cool in, warm out. The reply: hate to cancel, child sick, thir works my treat. The day is still yours. Your narrator isn't wrong for trying to protect you. It's just not the only voice that gets a microphone. Feel one more sensory truth before you move. The room supports you with the unremarkable grace of gravity. The breath you take now has a longer exhale than when you started this page. The skin around your eyes loosens. Your feet find more surface area. You are here, not inside a sentence that hurts you. You are the awareness that hears the narrator and chooses the editor. You are the author who writes the next clean line even when the moment is loud. That is the power of a pause upgraded into a pen. Today you'll give your pause a job, protecting your attention like a bodyguard protects a door. Triggers steal energy, and distractions siphon what's left. You don't just need calm, you need aim. Two frameworks will do the heavy lifting. The first is attention architecture, prime, shield, sprint. You prime your reticular activating system with a single-line intent. You shield your environment and body from obvious hijacks, and you sprint in short, fully owned bursts that end with a micro-celebration and a reset. The second is distraction triage. Now, later, never. You'll sort interruptions into 3 bins in real time with a 2-word tag, then route each without drama. You'll stop trying to have iron willpower and start running a clean operating system. Prime begins with 1 sentence, present tense and behavioral. For the next 20 minutes, I write clear paragraphs, or for the next 15, I process invoices precisely, or for the next 10, I listen without correcting. This line is not a pep talk. It's a software instruction that tunes your RAS to highlight relevant cues and ignore glitter. Shield is concrete. Phone face down in another room or on Do Not Disturb, tabs trimmed to the one you need, chair angle adjusted to prevent fidget loops, water within reach. Sprint is a 20-25 minute block, but the number matters less than the ownership. If you pick 12, own 12. End with a micro-celebration, 1 slow exhale, a quiet good, then a reset question, continue or switch, 3 cycles, and you'll feel a momentum that doesn't require caffeine or self-disgust. Before the work, let your senses clock in. Cool air touches the inside rim of your nostrils and leaves warmer along the upper lip. Your shoulders can drop a millimeter. The base of your skull loosens as if a ring unfastened. The chair takes your weight without comment. Notice the exact line where your thighs meet the seat. The room hums, HVAC, street, a soft appliance. These facts don't do the task. They make your nervous system available too. Science in simple clothes. Your attention is a spotlight with a limited battery. Threat drains it fastest. Novelty drains it second. Priming gives your cortex a headline so it knows what to highlight. Shielding reduces novelty at the entrance. Sprinting matches the brain's natural focus rhythm. Short, owned intervals outperform vague marathons because dopamine rewards completion. When you pair this with the pause you've been practicing, you're not white-knuckling, you're engineering. Add distraction triage. When something tugs, notification, thought, person, you silently tag it, now, later, or never. Now means it will protect the sprint or safety. Later goes to a capture tool, never gets a gentle no. The tag takes half a second, then route. If now, act in under 60 seconds, stand to stretch, adjust your posture, silence a rogue ping. If later, write a 3-word cue in a parking lot list. Email Sam's scope, refill detergent, tax doc. If never, practice a 2-line no, not mine, not now. Over days, your brain learns that not every tug gets a seat at the table. Here's a story from a kitchen table that doubled as a home office. Mina was finishing a grant proposal with an hour to spare. Her mind did what tired minds do, opened every tab it could imagine. The old script was scold and grind. New script, attention architecture. Prime, for 20 minutes I clarify the needs section. Shield, phone in the hallway, noise on low, 1 tab, water to the left. Sprint, timer on, 8 minutes in, a thought flashed, order filters. Distraction triage. Tag later, route, wrote filters on a sticky note, breathed once, eyes back to the paragraph. At minute 18, a Slack ping sneaked through. Tag never, root, DND till 4 to herself, close notification pane, return. At 20 she exhaled and asked, continue or switch? Continue, another 15. The proposal went out clean. The hour didn't stretch, it focused. Sensory beat. Ribs widen sideways like a book opening on the inhale, belly lowers a centimeter on the exhale. Your hands tingle slightly as blood returns from micro-tension, let it. A faint scent, paper, coffee, rain threads into your awareness. The room becomes a place, not a blur. You'll install a micro drill called Tab Tally. Before each sprint, say the number of tabs out loud. 1. Each extra tab adds friction tax. Your mouth keeps you accountable. Hearing yourself say 7 triggers the part of you that likes clean counters. Pair it with the cursor compass. When your mind skids, move your cursor to the verb in your prime line. Write, process, listen. The "are you doing the verb" check spares you 10 minutes of performative rearranging. Anecdote at a coworking table. Nick Hill, a developer, would slide from code to docs to chat to metrics like a skipping stone. He felt scattered and ashamed. By 3 p.m. he started with Prime, Shield, Sprint. Prime. For 25 minutes I refactor the auth method cleanly. Shield, closed Slack entirely, put his phone in his backpack, angled his chair away from the hallway. Sprint, timer on. 5 minutes in, a colleague tapped his shoulder. Distraction, triage. Tag, later. Root, he pointed to a sticky that read deep block till 2:30, add here, and the colleague scribbled. At 2:28, Nikhil ended the sprint with a long exhale and a micro-celebration, the stretch that his back loved. He turned to the sticky and set a 5-minute now sprint to answer the colleague's question, then returned. By 5, he had fewer git commits than on his heroic context switch days, but the code was cleaner and his nervous system was quieter. Calm is a performance multiplier. Science bridge again, useful and plain. Multitasking isn't doing 2 things at once. It's switching, and switching costs glucose and attention. Each switch leaves residue, a stickiness that steals seconds. Sprints reduce switches by bundling similar actions. The micro-celebration tilts dopamine toward effort-related reward, training your brain to associate the work with completion instead of resentment. The 2-word tag recruits language centers, which dampen the amygdala's jumpiness when you say later, to a tug that used to feel like an emergency. Let your senses confirm you're here. Your tongue rests heavy, jaw unhooks a degree. The skin at your temples warms more than the bridge of your nose. The chair's edge is a distinct line. Feel exactly where support ends. The breath leaves a touch warmer than it entered. That difference is proof of life, not a thought. Bring in a pocket tool called the 30-second sweep. Before each sprint, sweep your field. Remove 1 visual clutter item, silence 1 sound, adjust 1 posture detail. 3 micro changes by minutes of focus. If you like rituals, add the anchor object, a small stone, coin, or ring you touch at the start and end of each sprint. Tactile cues glue memory to behavior. The object becomes shorthand for on and off, which smooths re-entry after interruptions. Home scene, early evening. Tasha wanted to be with her kid for Lego time, but found her mind replaying a work debate. Prime. For 15 minutes, I build with him and narrate what I see. Shield, phone in another room, TV off, sit on the floor to match his eye level. Sprint, timer on. The thought email Ari sparked. Tag later. Root, she said, 1 sec, I'm grabbing the blue block. Stepped to the counter, scribbled Ari email, and returned. At 15, she celebrated by naming 1 thing she loved in his build. The night went better because her attention did 1 thing at a time. The pause isn't only for crisis, it's for presence. Sensory beat. The floor's texture under your feet shows up when you press your toes down. The air along your ears is cooler than on your cheeks. Your breath has a longer tail now, shoulders slide down a notch. The light has shifted a degree, a shadow migrated across a surface since you began reading. You'll add the focus fence, a sentence you say out loud at the start of a sprint that makes the boundary public or at least explicit to yourself. I'm heads down for 20 back at 40. This is tactical kindness for attention. It trains others to expect cycles, not instant access. It trains you to own your door. Pair it with the 2-slot gate for interruptions, now or at 40. If they pick now, give them a 1-minute now and end with, I'm back in at 40. If they pick 40, capture and return. Over time, your environment learns the rhythm. A workplace story with fluorescent lights and the smell of burnt coffee. Rosa, a team lead, ran stand-ups that bled into 45-minute derailments. She installed attention architecture at the meeting level. Prime, in 15, each person names one blocker and one next step. Shield, agenda on the wall, timer visible, laptops closed unless presenting. Sprint, 2 cycles of 7 minutes with a minute reset. Distraction triage happened out loud. Ideas tagged later went to a parking lot visible to all. Never items got a brief, not in scope. The team protested for a week. Then velocity went up, and so did the sense that everyone's time mattered. Rosa didn't become robotic. She became a thermostat. Science ribbon with a lever. The RAS primes better with concrete nouns and verbs than abstractions. Write paragraph on risks, beats, be productive. Ask one scope question, beats, engage. Your prime line should be a camera test. Could a camera record the action? If yes, your brain has a handle. If not, sharpen the verb. Notice your body again, simple, physical. Your eyebrows drift apart by a millimeter, your forehead softens. The breath's arc is smoother, like a pendulum swinging without catching. Sound in the room keeps its rhythm. The chair doesn't ask questions, it holds. Introduce one more drill, the 2-minute clean landing. End a sprint with a 60-second log, what I did, what's next, where to restart. Then a 60-second reset, stand, shake wrists, sip water, 2-4-2-8 breaths. Landings matter more than takeoffs because they determine whether you dread restarting. A clean restart line prevents the "where was I" tax that burns 5 minutes every hour. Another story, this one in a classroom. Karim, a graduate student, wrote at night after a full-time job. His brain arrived at the desk like a bag of bees. He felt behind before his hands touched the keyboard. He taped a card above his monitor. Prime, shield, sprint. Prime, for 25 I draft the methods section, no edits. Shield, phone in kitchen, Wi-Fi blocker on, desk cleared except for water and a printed outline. Sprint, timer on, anchor object, a small river stone between his fingers for the first 3 breaths. At minute 12, the thought, lookup citation, fired. Tag, later, root, typed cite, and kept going. At 25, clean landing log and 2 breaths. 3 sprints later, he had pages. The bees quieted because he gave them rows to fly. Sensory beat. The skin on your forearms reads the room's temperature more clearly than your palms. Notice it. Your spine feels longer when you exhale slowly. Let it. The breath cools in, warms out. The world did not change. Your channel did. Now knit attention to values so focus doesn't turn you efficient at the wrong things. Before a work block, ask the values compass you learned. What do I stand for here? What outcome matters in the long run? What's in my control in the next 20 minutes? What tiny action signals who I am? Then write a prime line that matches. Stand, clarity, outcome, trust. control, tone plus scope question, prime. For 10 minutes I outline questions, not answers. And when focus serves values, it feels like dignity, not compulsion. Distraction triage needs one more edge case, emotional interrupts. A memory, a worry, a rush of sadness at 2 p.m. tagging later can feel cold. Use the 90-second weather rule, set the inner timer, place one hand on your belly and breathe 4-4-6 once or twice. Name it, wave of sadness, worry about mom. Then route, later 8 p.m. walk note. You're not shoving yourself aside, you're scheduling care. Put a 10-minute slot on your calendar. Keep it. That promise keeps your system from escalating to force you to feel now. Home vignette with laughter down the hall. Amir wanted to cook without doom-scrolling between each chop. Prime, for 15 I cook and keep my hands moving. Shield, phone on charger in bedroom, recipe printed, knife sharp. Sprint, timer on. Triage, when the thought texty came, he said, later, wrote a 2-word note on a sticky and returned to the onion. At the buzzer, he exhaled, sipped water, and tasted the sauce with full attention. Dinner tasted like a life he was choosing on purpose. Senses again, final lap for this chapter. Air in cool, air out warm. The chair holds its line under your thighs. Your gaze widens, periphery returns. The back of your neck loosens by a thread. You are in a body that can aim. To close, give yourself the focus pledge, 12 words that braid everything together. I pause, I aim, I guard, I sprint, I land, I choose. Say it before your next block. Then run one attention architecture cycle on something small within the next hour. Prime, one camera test line. Shield, one environment change, one body change. Sprint, pick your number and own it. Triage, now later never with 2-word tags. Land, 1-minute log, 1-minute reset. Tonight, write 2 proof of pause lines. Prime line I used. Interruption I triaged. You're not trying to be a machine. You're becoming a person whose attention belongs to your values more often than to other people's triggers. Identity shift, quiet, strong, true. You are not a leaf whipped by notifications. You are the lighthouse that holds watch while waves throw themselves against rock. You are not the weeds. You are the gardener with gloves and a plan. You are the awareness that pauses, the author who chooses, the architect who builds rooms where important work and tender presence both happen. The world will still be loud. Your pause will still be needed. But now it guards a door with a name on it, and the name is yours. Today you'll turn the pause into recovery, how you return to yourself after a stumble so quickly that the stumble becomes a stepping stone. Reactivity hates recovery. It wants you to double down, justify, or disappear. Mastery does something quieter. It repairs, updates the map, and recommits. 2 frameworks carry today's load. The first is the R3 cycle: reset, repair, recommit. You reset the nervous system in 90 seconds or less. You repair the moment with one clean sentence or action, and you recommit to a tiny process promise that prevents a rerun. The second is the Delta debrief: keep, drop, add. After any trigger or miss, you ask what to keep because it worked, what to drop because it fuels chaos, and what to add because it will make the next pass easier. This turns guilt into guidance and turns your pause into a springboard. Start with reset. Your body tells the truth first. Feel cool air thread the inner edges of your nostrils and slide out warmer over your upper lip. Let the tongue unglue from the roof of your mouth. Your jaw slackens a hair. Inhale for 4, hold for a soft 2, exhale for 8. Shoulders lower a centimeter. Notice 3 neutrals: the grain in a tabletop, the border where wall meets ceiling, the dull shine on a mug's rim. Your system orients to place and time. Now you can touch the scene without the scene burning you. A story with a sting and a pivot. Jaya was facilitating a team workshop. Midway through, a participant challenged a core assumption. Jaya rushed to defend and heard herself cut the person off twice. The room cooled in that way you can feel on skin. Old Jaya would have sprinted ahead louder. New Jaya pressed reset, 1428 breath while she looked at the clock digits. Then repair, she faced the participant and said, steady, I interrupted you, thank you for hanging in. Please finish, I want to hear the full point. The room's shoulders dropped. Ideas surfaced. Recommit came at break. Jaya wrote a 2-line promise on her notes, pause before answering, ask one clarifying question first. The workshop ended stronger than it began. The miss didn't define her, the repair did. Let your senses mark that you've learned something. Your ribs widen sideways like a book opening on the inhale. The belly descends a centimeter on the exhale. A faint hum, vent, traffic, electricity threads the room. The skin at your temples feels warmer than the bridge of your nose. These microfacts are anchors you can tie to when shame tries to pull you under. Now the Delta debrief. After any trigger, answer 3 lines in 30 seconds. Keep the part that served, drop the behavior that poured fuel on the fire. Add the smallest process change that makes a repeat less likely. Example, you snapped at a colleague. Keep, I named the deadline. Drop, I raised my volume. Add, schedule a 5-minute scope check the day before. The power is in brevity. Long postmortems become blame documents. Short deltas become steering nudges your nervous system can actually remember. The science bridge here is merciful. When you name a behavioral change in concrete terms, add a question, move a meeting, set a cue, you recruit the brain's planning and motor circuits. That shifts activity away from rumination networks and gives your body something to do. Action metabolizes adrenaline, plans preempt spirals. You don't have to believe in yourself first. You take a behavior that makes belief optional. You'll install a micro-drill inside R3 called the Aftershock Protocol for the moments immediately following a misstep. It's a 3-move ritual: cool water on wrists or splash on face, 1-4-4-6 breath with a longer exhale, 1 repair line rehearsed out loud at half volume. The water gives your vagus nerve a temperature cue. The breath tugs you out of fight-flight. The line prevents avoidance from hardening into a wall. Script a few lines now you can deploy in any room. I spoke too soon. Let me try that again. I reacted. Here's what I meant to ask. I missed your point. Say it once more. Your future stressed mouth will thank you for the pre-recorded track. Sensory beat. Feel the chair take your weight like a promise it keeps every day. Notice the line where your thighs meet the seat. Let your eyebrows drift apart by a millimeter. The back of your neck widens when you imagine a thread gently pulling the crown of your head upward. Breath cool in, warm out. This is how you exit the courtroom in your head and walk back into the room you're actually in. Another story, this one at home in a room with soft light and a sink full of dishes. Matteo and his partner had agreed to split evenings. Tonight was Matteo's turn and he forgot. When reminded, he rolled his eyes, tiny, poisonous. The air changed temperature. Old Matteo would have defended, I had a day. New Matteo ran R3 fast. Reset, exhale 8, hands heavy on the counter. Repair, that eye roll was disrespectful. I'm sorry. I'll do the dishes now and set a reminder for my nights. Recommit. After the sink cleared, he wrote Chew/the kitchen on their shared board and set a phone cue for 8 p.m. Delta debrief 15 seconds. Keep, I owned it quickly. Drop, the eye roll. Add, reminder plus board. The kitchen returned to conversation. Dignity costs less than ego. There will be times you can't repair immediately. The other person left the call. The meeting moved on. The night ended badly. Use a delayed repair with the same clarity. One text or email with one sentence of ownership, one sentence of impact, one sentence of next step. I cut you off today. That undercuts your point and our standard. Tomorrow I'll lead with a clarifying question. Can we pick up your idea at the top? You don't have to excavate childhood to maintain trust. You need to tell the truth plainly and soon. Let your body hand you a little courage. Your hands may tingle as micro-tensions release. Let them. The room's sound is steadier than your thoughts. The air on your forearms is cooler than in your palms. When your jaw loosens, your voice drops half a note without trying. Lower voices read as steadier. That helps a repair land. Fold in a companion method called the small circle pledge. It's a recommitment that lives in 2 minutes. You identify one circle you control that shrank during the trigger, breath, tone, timing, or scope, and you pledge one behavior there for the next instance. Tone, 1 octave down. Timing, count 1 breath before answering. Scope, answer the question asked, not the one feared. You can write the pledge on a sticky and carry it for the week. Visibility turns intention into repetition. You also need recovery when the trigger is internal, self-criticism that arrives after a miss. Deploy the Delta debrief on your own mind. Keep, I care about quality. Drop, global labels like I'm terrible. Add, 2-minute practice block tomorrow at 9 to rehearse the sentence that stumbled. Pair it with story surgery from yesterday. Record, reveal, re-rate, rewrite. You'll notice how the combination shortens the half-life of self-attack. Sensory beat to restore proportion. Your ribs slide apart sideways, your belly falls. The light has shifted a shade since you began, a shadow drifted an inch along a surface. You are in time, not trapped in one frame. A field story where money and pride were at stake. Hannah pitched a client and watched the interest drain from faces halfway through. Her slides were dense, her voice rushed. The meeting ended with a polite, "We'll be in touch." In the elevator, shame rose like heat. Old Hannah would have avoided follow-up to protect a story. New Hannah ran the R3 cycle. Reset, eyes on the elevator floor numbers 428 twice. Repair, a 1-paragraph email that owned and invited. I rushed sections 3 and 4. I'd like to offer a 10-minute walkthrough tomorrow focused only on outcome metrics. If helpful, I'll send a 1-page summary beforehand. Recommit, calendar block for a 5-minute breathe and slow run-through with a timer before every pitch. Delta debrief, keep clear opening. Drop, slide density plus speed. Add, 1-page plus breath drill. The next day's mini walkthrough won a pilot. The failure became tuition because she paid attention, not penance. Science again in simple language. When you perform a repair, especially one that includes a future commitment, your brain gets a small hit of relief, not because you escaped, but because uncertainty drops. The anterior cingulate, which monitors conflict, chills when you set a next step. The prefrontal cortex moves blood and focus toward planning. Cortisol eases because the threat is now addressed by action. That's why even a drafted repair you plan to deliver later calms your body now. Your system trusts you when you show it a path. You'll add a micro drill called 2-sentence closure. At the end of any heated exchange, resolved or not, you say or write 2 sentences. Here's what I'm taking forward, and here's the next step I own. If the other person is present, you invite their version. Closure doesn't need consensus, it needs direction. 2 sentences prevent rumination from hijacking your night. Sensory beat. The space between your shoulder blades widens when you imagine it. The skin around your eyes softens when your exhale is longer. Your feet spread inside your shoes, claiming more surface. The chair stays loyal. Gravity is a steady friend. Now put R3 and delta into a high-friction scene most of us know. the apology that feels risky. You snapped, and part of you whispers that apologizing surrenders ground. You breathe, reset. You keep your eye on one neutral object as you soften your jaw. Repair line lands brief and clean. I spoke sharply, that undercut respect. I'm sorry. The point I want to make is about timeline. Can we pick the two most impactful tasks? Recommit quietly to the behavior that reduces the odds of repeat. Before status meetings, I'll write the one sentence I want to say. Delta debrief later, keep, name the actual issue, drop, tone, add, pre-write sentence. Over weeks, your identity updates, not someone who never snaps, but someone who repairs quickly and builds guardrails. That identity can stand in rooms worth standing in. What about when the other person doesn't meet you halfway? Use the reset loop you learned for boundaries, wrapped in R3. Reset your system first. Repair your side only, don't barter. Recommit to a boundary or a cadence that preserves dignity. I'll answer questions about scope in our Tuesday check-in. I won't do real-time ping-pong by DM. Then Delta debrief privately, keep clarity, drop chasing. Add check-in agenda. Recovery does not mean contorting. It means coherence. Bring in a simple tool to make recommitment stick. The cue crux close card. On a palm-sized card, you write the specific cue that predicts a miss, the crux behavior you want instead, and the close, the tiny end-of-day act that locks the change. Cue, calendar surprise at 4:30, crux, ask for top 2 before reacting. Close, write one line in proof log. You carry the card for a week. When the cue hits, you're not improvising. You're executing a plan you wrote when you were calm. Sensory beat. The air along the ridge of your ears is cooler than your cheeks. Your breath has a tail now. It lingers. The room's sounds form a low orchestra you can tune into when thoughts spike. You are not inside the thought. You are in a room that holds you while it passes. Another small story with disproportionate impact. Suri, a junior designer, misnamed a file and cost the team an hour. The old family tape hissed in her head. You mess things up. She wanted to hide in her hoodie. She walked to the restroom instead. Reset with cold water on wrists. 1446 breath. Repair. I misnamed the file. It cost us time. I've set a naming template and will run a final check at 4 daily. Recommit. Added a 5-minute end-of-day order files block. Delta debrief. Keep initiative on fix. Drop spiral. Add template plus block. Her lead replied, thanks, share the template, we'll all use it. Shame turned into shared structure. That's not a miracle, that's craft. Let's fold in the MeUView lens as a repair amplifier. When you deliver a repair, speak one me line ownership, one you line impact on them, and one view line next step that moves the project or relationship. I interrupted you, me. That makes collaboration harder, you. Next time I'll pause and ask for your top point before adding mine view. The economy of this formula keeps you out of the swamp of explanations and on the path of trust. Add one more micro-practice for nights when your brain replays an awkward moment on loop. The 90-second rewrite. Set a timer. For 90 seconds, you write in present tense, the repaired version of the scene using behavioral detail, breath, sentence, posture. You end with one tangible change you'll carry into the next morning. Then you close the notebook. The loop loses oxygen because you gave your system a script and an exit. Sensory beat. The breath you take now is smoother than the one 10 minutes ago. Your shoulders sit lower by a degree. The chair has not moved, but you inhabit it more. The light in the room shows you a crisp edge along an object. Let your eyes rest on that edge for 2 breaths. Let the world be simple for a moment. Simplicity restores choice. Recovery has a cousin, refusal. Sometimes repair means withdrawing consent from patterns that harm. R3 helps here too. Reset so you don't confuse courage with heat. Repair by naming your boundary and the one next step you will take. Recommit to a support structure, mentor, friend, policy, so you're not carrying it alone. Delta debrief, keep self-respect. Drop explaining to be liked. Add template sentence plus ally loop. Your dignity is not up for public vote. A final story to braid it all. A product launch slipped. Tensions ran hot. In the wrap-up, people lined up blame. Arjun, the PM, felt the old urge to defend. He paused. Reset, 428, eyes on the whiteboard corner. Repair, I pushed scope last week. That was my call and it added risk. I'm sorry for the scramble. The room went quiet. He continued with MIU view, that undercut trust and weekend plans. Here's my next move, weekly 2-slot scope gate, add 2 means remove 2, recommit, calendar invites sent before the meeting ended. Delta debrief for himself later, keep public ownership, drop heroic scope creep, add scope gate plus parking lot. The team did not become saintly, but the culture edged closer to honest and sane because one person recovered fast and clean. Identity shift because this is the whole point. You are not the sum of your stumbles. You are the person who turns stumbles into signal. You are not the heat of the moment. You are the hands that place a ladder under it and climb. You are not the apology as self-erasure. You are the repair as leadership. When you forget, you will remember faster. When you fall, you will fold in the R3 cycle and the Delta debrief until recovery is not an event, but a reflex you trust. Close with a live run. Think of one moment in the last week that still tugs. Reset now, 1446 breath, jaw soft, eyes on one edge in the room. Write your repair line in a sentence you could speak without rushing. Whisper it once. Recommit in 10 words on a sticky. Before calls, write one question I want to ask. Delta debrief, keep, drop, add 1 word each. Place the sticky somewhere your morning eyes will land. You just paid tuition in attention and turned it into capacity. One last sensory seal. Air slips in cool, leaves warm. The skin around your eyes loosens. Your feet find more floor. The hum in the room continues, indifferent to drama, proof you live in a wider world than your worst moment. You are the awareness, not the emotion, the author, not the avalanche, the person who returns to center and proceeds with purpose. Today you'll use the pause to tell the truth without burning the room. Hard conversations are where reactivity impersonates courage. You feel the heat and call it honesty. You fire the sentence and call it leadership. But courage isn't volume, it's precision under arousal. 2 frameworks make precision repeatable. The first is the truth without heat frame, context, impact, need, next. You name the context in one neutral line, you state the impact in your body or on the work, you name the need as a value rather than a blame, and you propose the next small step. The second is the courage loop. Prepare, pace, place. You prepare with a 90-second body reset and a single clear sentence. You pace the conversation by asking one question between every 2 statements, and you place the talk in the right setting and time so your nervous system isn't asked to perform in a windstorm. This isn't softness. It's scaffolding that lets truth carry weight without breaking the floorboards. Before you practice, let your senses enter the room first. Cool air touches the inner rim of your nostrils. On the way out, it skims warmer along your upper lip. Your jaw loosens by a thread when your tongue drops from the roof of your mouth. Your shoulders slope a degree. Gravity takes back a job it loves. A faint hum, street, vent, distant voices makes a thin, steady line in the background. These aren't distractions. They are the difference between a body about to bark and a body about to speak. Start with the truth without heat frame. Context is the camera view. In yesterday's review, on slide 8, at dinner last night, Impact is either physiology you own or a consequence you can measure. My chest tightened and I shut down. We lost an hour in rework. The kids went quiet. Need is the value you want to protect, not a verdict about the other person's character. I need clarity. I need a predictable handoff. I need steadiness when we disagree. Next is the smallest driveway you can pave within the conversation. Can we agree on 2 checkpoints? Will you send priorities in bullets before 5? Can we pause 10 seconds when voices rise? The frame keeps your prefrontal cortex steering. Without it, the amygdala grabs a megaphone and improvises. Here's the science ribbon you attach to the frame. Specific nouns, numbers, and times pull blood toward planning systems. Values language, need for clarity, steadiness, reliability, reduces threat by signaling shared goals. Proposals shrink ambiguity, which your brain interprets as danger. In short, context calms, impact humanizes, need unites, next directs. You can feel the chemistry shift even reading those words. They're not magic, they are levers. Run the courage loop before you open your mouth. Prepare with a 90-second reset, 2-4-4-6 breaths, a jaw release, 3 neutral objects in the room named silently. Then write 1 10-word truth that would still be true if you whispered it. I need clearer handoffs to deliver quality work on time. I felt dismissed and want a way to pause next time. I want evenings without work pings after 6. Pacing is next. Between every 2 statements you make, you ask 1 question. Questions prevent monologues from turning into monsoons. Place finishes the loop. You put the talk where your body can breathe. A walk instead of a face-off, a morning instead of 10 p.m., a call with cameras on instead of a 5-text duel. Preparation edits heat. Pacing adds oxygen. Placement prevents avoidable storms. Let your body confirm you're not about to perform a fight. Your ribs widen sideways like a book opening. Your belly lowers a centimeter on the exhale. The back of your neck widens when you imagine a thread gently lifting the crown of your head. The light paints a thin, bright line along the rim of a nearby object. Your throat becomes a hallway, not a straw. A story under fluorescent lights and clock pressure. Cal, a product lead, watched a cross-functional partner derail a sprint with last-minute, just one more thing requests. The corridor outside the conference room smelled like burnt coffee and resentment. Cal's chest heated, his jaw crept forward. The old move was sharpness disguised as wit. He ran the courage loop. Prepared 2 long exhales, eyes on the clock digits until his shoulders dropped a notch. 10-word truth. I need locked scope to keep the team healthy and accurate. Place. A 5-minute walk on the sidewalk rather than a public duel. They stepped outside into air that felt like permission. Cal used the truth without heat frame. In this sprint planning, he began context. We added 3 late items and my chest went hot and tight. I shut down, impact he owned. I need locked scope to maintain accuracy and sanity. Need. Can we agree to a 2-slot gate? Add 2, remove 2 after Wednesday, nothing new unless on-call flags red. Next. He then paced. What would make that workable on your side? The partner looked down, then up. I push late because I'm scared we'll miss VIP asks. If we do the gate, can I get a VIP path for emergencies? They named it. They shook on it. The next 2 weeks weren't perfect, but the Friday panic stopped. Cal didn't win an argument. He built a rule with breath under it. Notice your own skin. The air on your forearms is a shade cooler than in your palms. Your eyebrows can drift apart by a millimeter. Your forehead unknots. The chair holds you with its ordinary devotion. Sound continues. The world is bigger than this sentence, and you feel it. You'll practice a micro-drill called the one-question bridge. It's 1 sentence that turns a trigger into a doorway, What outcome matters most to you here? What would make this easier for both of us? If we had 2 slots, which would you keep? The bridge is not submission. It's a way to pace heat and collect data. Your nervous system steadies when it has a job that isn't win. Another pocket tool lives inside your mouth, the half-beat pause. It's a tiny silence after your first sentence, long enough to feel the weight of the words land, short enough not to read as ice. That half-beat lets your tone deepen and your eyes widen to take in peripheral cues. It's a somatic semaphore that tells the room you're not sprinting toward the cliff. Now take the frame home. The kitchen flickers with end-of-day fatigue. The sink holds 4 dishes like evidence. Your partner makes the sound you dread, an exhale with a history. The old you loads a case. The new you uses the loop. Prepare 2 breaths, eyes on the window's right angle, a palm on the belly. 10-word truth. I want evenings that feel like a team, not a tally. Place, not in the doorway, not while hungry, on the couch for 7 minutes with water. Truth without heat lands like this. Last night after 9, context, I felt a tight band in my chest seeing the sink. Impact, I need a shared anchor so evenings don't turn into scorekeeping. Need, can we try dishes cleared by 8:30 3 nights this week and text if we'll miss. Next, pace with 1 question. What would make that doable for you? You're not trying to be right, you're trying to be with. Breathe and check the small truths again. Cool in, warm out. Your shoulders lower a degree. The base of your skull loosens. A soft sound in the room repeats like a reassurance that time moves whether you fight or not. There will be moments when the other person's heat scrapes your old wound and your mouth wants to outsource your pain to them. Use the boundary bridge from earlier inside the truth without heat frame. I hear this matters, acknowledge. I won't talk while being insulted, specify. I'm ready to continue if we both keep volume under normal level, request. If it stays hot, let's pause and resume at 4, resource. Then return to context, impact, need next. You're not doing therapy. You're keeping the channel clean so dialogue can carry content. For teams, install a ritual called the 2-minute pre-flight before any potentially loaded meeting. Each person writes a 10-word truth and one next they can live with. Everyone takes 2 breaths together, yes, with cameras on, and someone reads the purpose out loud. It feels awkward for a week. Then calendars get shorter and outcomes get clearer because bodies arrive calibrated. Use the science as a friendly bouncer. When voices rise, your auditory system narrows. You miss nuance. The half-beat and the question reopen the window. The amygdala downshifts when it hears its human asking for specifics. Your vagus nerve loves long exhales. Your prefrontal cortex loves numbers and nouns. Give them both something to do and watch the room's temperature change in real time. Another micro-drill nestles in your pocket, the 10-second write. In a tense exchange, take a pen, write the word need, and finish the sentence beneath the table or on a small card. Need clarity on scope. Need respect in tone. Need agreement on deadline. Writing routes heat through your hand into language which tames it. Then speak the need once cleanly and propose the next. This is not a life hack. It's a small steering wheel. Let your senses rejoin you. The ridge of your ears feels cooler than your cheeks. Your hands tingle as blood returns from micro-tension. The chair's edge meets your thighs with a precise line. Notice it. Your breath hangs a fraction of a second longer at the end of the exhale. That is room you created. Edge cases need choreography too. If you must deliver hard feedback, map the sequence with the 4-window walk, past, present, future person. You name one past pattern without a stack of exhibits, you state present impact, you propose a future experiment, and you affirm the person's strength so identity doesn't feel under attack. Over the last 2 sprints, we changed scope late. Today, the team worked until 9. Let's run a 2-slot gate for 2 weeks. You're decisive, that's an asset. Let's channel it at planning where it pays. This is not praise sugar, it's architecture that prevents collapse. A short story that changed a hallway forever. Lena, a senior analyst, dreaded her director's habit of interrogating in public. In the weekly review, Lena presented a forecast. The director leaned forward and said, "Why is this so off?" Heat climbed Lena's neck. The old narrator whispered, "Prove yourself or disappear." She ran the courage loop live. Prepare 1 exhale, a glance at the corner of the whiteboard, jaw soft. 10-word truth. I need critique in a format that protects thinking. Place, she took 2 steps to the side, shifting the angle so it felt less like a trial. In this review, she said, context, my breath goes shallow when pressed in front of the room. I lose precision, impact. I need a way to answer well and not rush, need. Can we do clarifying questions here and deeper drills in a 15-minute follow-up after? Next. Then the bridge. What would let you get what you need? The director paused, looked around at faces he hadn't been noticing, and nodded. Follow-up works. Here, give me your top risk in 1 line. The room exhaled. Lena answered cleanly. The hallway gossip cooled. It became a place where critique grew skill instead of scars. 1 frame, 1 loop, 1 culture nudge. Feel the room you're in now. The light has shifted since you started. A shadow moved along a surface by a small but real distance. Your breath meets less resistance. Your gaze takes in more edge and less tunnel. You are the person who can notice. You'll want to rehearse on low-stakes scenes. Try the truth without heat frame on a delivery order that arrived wrong. On last night's order, the main dish was missing, context. We didn't have dinner until 9, impact. I need reliability on staples, need. Could you comp that dish and confirm tomorrow's delivery window? Next. Notice how your body feels as you say it. Steadier, slower, less like a tremor, and more like a line. Tie the loop to identity. You are not the surge that demands a speech. You are the awareness that chooses a sentence. You are not the loudest voice in the room. You are the thermostat that resets the climate so truth can be heard. When you forget, you will remember faster. When heat rises, you will build a bridge. When your body wants to sprint, you will place the talk where breath can keep up. Close with a live rehearsal. Pick 1 conversation you've delayed. Prepare now, 2 4-4-6 breaths, jaw loose, eyes on 1 right angle. Write your 10-word truth. Speak it once at half volume and add the next you can deliver tomorrow. Decide the place and the time. Put it on your calendar with a 2-word title you'd be proud to keep. Clear handoff, quiet ask, scope gate. Then, as you walk into that minute tomorrow, pace yourself with 1 question between every 2 statements. You aren't trying to be fearless. You're trying to be clear with a body that can stay. Last sensory seal for today. Cool in, warm out. The space between your shoulder blades widens a finger's width when you imagine it. The chair takes your weight as if it were designed for exactly this kind of moment, because it is. The world hums. You belong in it, speaking truths that move things forward without setting fires you'll have to put out tomorrow. You're close to the kind of steadiness that doesn't depend on the day being kind. Today is about installing your operating system, how you begin and end each day so the pause is preloaded, not improvised. Triggers will still arrive. Uncertainty will still knock. But when the bookends of your day are sturdy, the pages in between can carry a lot of ink without tearing. 2 frameworks make this durable. The first is the morning operating system, prime, plan, protect. You prime your state with 1 minute of breath and body cues. You plan with a 3-line map that gives your brain a North Star, and you protect with 1 boundary sentence you'll actually use. The second is the evening integration loop. Harvest, handoff, hibernate. You harvest proof of progress and repair. You hand off tomorrow's worries to a page so your brain can rest. And you hibernate the nervous system with a downshift that takes less than 3 minutes. Together, they turn your pause into a habit that survives Mondays, mishaps, and months. Start where the day starts, in a body. Before you touch your phone, sit or stand and give yourself the prime minute. Inhale for 4, hold for 2, exhale for 8. As you exhale, let your shoulders slide down by a millimeter and feel your tongue fall from the roof of your mouth. Cool air threads the inner rim of your nostrils. Warmer air skims the upper lip on the way out. Your ribs widen sideways like a book opening. The belly drops a centimeter. 3 neutral cues, window frame, mug handle, a line of light on the floor, tell your reticular activating system, we are somewhere, not everywhere. This isn't romance, it's alignment. A nervous system that knows where it is can choose what to do. Plan is a 3-line map called the North Star Trio. Line 1 is the 10-word outcome for the day, behavior forward. Deliver clear draft, ask scope, end on time. Line 2 is the smallest wise sequence, 3 micro steps in order, each camera testable. Outline questions, draft ugly, ask for top 2. Line 3 is the courage cue, the sentence you'll say when your amygdala auditions for director. Give me a moment, I want to respond, not react. Write the trio by hand. Writing tells your prediction engine, this is today's story. You're not predicting weather, you're choosing equipment. Protect is a single boundary you'll deliver once with a warm, firm voice. It might be a focus fence, heads down till 40, back right after, or a time edge, I'm offline after 6, I'll reply at 9. Say it out loud once so your mouth knows the music. Boundaries set in morning air sound cleaner at 4 p.m. when rooms get loud. Science in plain clothes. Your brain hates empty horizons, it fills them with threat or novelty. The trio gives it shape. Long exhales lower arousal, neutral cues orient. A rehearsed boundary phrase prevents bargaining under heat. You are engineering the first 5 minutes so the next 5 hours don't have to run on luck. A story that smells like coffee and a little fear. Quinn was a new manager who slept with her phone under the pillow and woke to Slack like an alarm. Her mornings felt like being jumped. She installed the morning operating system. Prime minute at the window, breath 428, one hand on her belly, trio on a sticky, run 1-1s clearly, ask top 2, leave at 6. Courage cue, clarity over speed. Protect line, I'm heads down for 20, back at 40. At 9:07, a ping with quick landed. Her chest tightened. She read her sticky and replied with the focus fence. 10 minutes later, she ran the first one with a steady voice. The day didn't become perfect, it became hers. By evening, she left at 6 with a nervous system that didn't feel embezzled. Let your senses confirm you're here. The chair holds your weight like a quiet promise. Feel the line where your thighs meet the seat. The air on your forearms is cooler than your palms. A faint hum, appliance, street, wind threads the room. Your jaw loosens when your tongue drops. Your voice would land lower if you spoke now. Lower reads as calm, calm reads as credible even to yourself. Evening matters as much as morning because sleep is when the brain consolidates and prunes. The evening integration loop starts with harvest. You scan the day for 2 receipts of agency, no poetry, just evidence. Paused before send. Asked top 2. Held boundary 5% firmer. Say them out loud to yourself or write them on a card. Your RAS learns to highlight what you want more of. Then handoff. You list the open loops your brain would otherwise replay. Email S, deck slide 8 font, call dentist, talk budget Thursday. Next to each, you write the next smallest action that belongs to you. Draft 3 bullets, change to 12 pt, set 10 min call, ask for numbers by noon. Your brain likes verbs. Verbs quiet the what-if choir. Finally, hibernate. Downshift with a 90-second sequence. Exhale twice as long as you inhale. Stretch the jaw gently open. Place one hand on your belly and one on your chest and breathe until the belly hand rises more than the chest hand. Then say one sentence to your system: nothing needs solving in the dark. Lights out. The loop is not self-care as a brand, it's maintenance. Bring it to earth with a home scene. Arya and Dev used to end nights with phones and thick silence. They tried the loop. After dishes, they stood at the counter. Harvest, you paused in the meeting. You asked for time at dinner. Handoff, 2 lines on a notepad for tomorrow. Hibernate, lights soft, 2 long exhales, 1 sentence each they wanted to keep. We are on the same team. Their fights didn't vanish. Their nights stopped sharpening knives. Sensory beat. The light has shifted a shade since you began reading. A shadow moved a small distance along a surface. Your ribs widen sideways on the inhale. The exhale lowers your belly by a centimeter. The back of your neck widens when you imagine space between vertebrae. Simple data, immediate effect. Add a micro drill that stitches morning and evening together. The bridge line. At night, write 1 sentence your morning self will see within 30 seconds of waking. Today I choose questions over speeches. Clarity over speed. 2 sprints before email. Place it where your eyes land first. The bridge line is a baton pass between versions of you who want the same thing. You'll also install the energy budget ledger. It's a 1-minute check, morning and noon. Morning, you allocate 3 coins: attention, emotion, action. You place 1 coin each into the 3 activities that matter most. Attention, deep work hour. Emotion, hard conversation at 3. Action, finish invoice. At noon, you check the ledger and move coins if you must. If a fire stole a coin, you reallocate intentionally. This stops the day from spending you by accident. Science ribbon. When you label and allocate, you move cognition from reactive networks into planning. Dopamine prefers completion. The ledger defines what completion looks like before the world does. Checking at noon interrupts drift. A mini Window-Widen for your calendar. A story from a quiet bus seat. D, a senior student juggling a thesis and a job, watched days blur into exhaustion and self-critique. He started the morning OS and the ledger. Prime breath on the bus, trio on his notes app, 1 protect line to his study group. Deep work 10-12, messages on mute, will reply at lunch. By noon, he looked at the ledger. A professor had asked for an impromptu meeting. Old D would have thrown his whole day at it. New D moved 1 coin from lecture notes to meeting, left the deep work coin in place, and pushed notes to 4:30. The thesis moved. His nervous system learned that change did not equal collapse when he was the one changing it. Let your senses lay down another layer of steadiness. Feel the skin at your temples warmer than the bridge of your nose. Your eyebrows drift apart by a millimeter and the forehead slackens. Your hands tingle as blood returns from micro-tension. The chair's edge is a precise line. Notice where support ends and air begins. Sometimes mornings start mid-trigger, bad sleep, a message with sharp edges, a memory. That's when you run the 90-second weather rule before the trio. Hand on belly, breath 4-4-6, eyes naming 3 neutrals. Then write the trio with the smallest font of ambition you can stand. If you're flooded, your 10-word outcome might be kind at work and ship 1 paragraph. The smallest wise sequence might be stand, water, 1 sentence. Your boundary might be I'll answer at 30. Lower the bar, lengthen the exhale. Mastery is not a mood. It's choreography you do even when your shoes are muddy. We'll add a framework for weeks that threaten to eat you, the Sunday map light. 15 minutes, timer on, you sketch your week with 3 questions. What must be preserved? What can be surrendered? What will be simplified? Preserved might be sleep windows, workouts, protected creative hours. Surrendered might be optional meetings, perfection on slide fonts, the third draft of an already good email. Simplified might be repeating meals or boilerplate replies. You write 3 lines for each and share the necessary ones with the humans affected. The maplight is not control, it's kindness to your future self. Anecdote in an office with a glass wall. Ria had a week with a board deck, a school concert, a parent's appointment. Old Ria would white-knuckle until something broke. New Ria ran the maplight. Preserved, concert, sleep window, 2 deep blocks. Surrendered, optional lunch, over-polishing animation, live demo risk, she used a recording. Simplified, the week's dinners, templated updates. She sent a focus fence to her team for 2 blocks and a boundary bridge to her exec. Deck by Thur 3, I'll send version at noon for top 2 edits, final at 3. The week didn't stop being full. It stopped feeling like drowning. Sensory beat. Air in, cool, air out, warm, your shoulders lower by a degree. The room hum carries on. Your gaze widens to include the corners again. Your breath is a slow metronome you can find in any room. Now the practice that supercharges all of this, future-paced rehearsal. You pick one predictable trigger on your calendar, tomorrow's 3 p.m. decision, tonight's budget talk, next week's presentation. You run a 2-minute simulation with breath. First, you feel the body surge as if it's happening. Then you layer your choreography over it. Pause key, a boundary line, a truth without heat sentence, a choice cascade. You picture your mouth shaping the exact words and your shoulders dropping when you exhale. Athletes call it visualization. We'll call it installing tracks. When the moment arrives, your nervous system recognizes the route and takes it faster. A small story where seconds mattered. Yusuf had a performance review with a manager who loved ambiguity and tough love. In past years, Yusuf shrank or spiked. The night before, he ran future-paced rehearsal, felt the heat in his face, ran 428 twice, pictured himself saying, "Give me a moment, I want to respond, not react," then asking, "Would you name the top 2 outcomes you want in Q4? In the room, the old chemistry arrived right on time. So did the track. He paused, spoke the sentence, asked the question, and felt his breath lower as the manager switched from general to specific. The review turned into a plan. The plan turned into a calmer quarter. Let your body store that as possibility. The space between your shoulder blades widens when you imagine it. The breath's tail lengthens by a count. A faint scent in the room, paper, soap, rain, makes a place out of air. You are not doing magic. You are practicing a role until it becomes your resting self. A micro-drill ties your morning and evening to the rest of your life. The threshold tap. At the threshold of a room, meeting, kitchen, child's door, you touch the frame lightly and breathe 1428. You whisper your anchor word, steady, kind, clear. You step in as that person. Touch, breath, word, step. Your nervous system loves rituals tied to places. Thresholds become levers. There's one more lever for days that collapse into noise, the 2-hour reset. If the morning derails, you choose the next 2 hours and run a mini version of the OS. Prime 1 breath, trio 1 line, protect 1 fence, sprint 1 cycle, harvest 1 receipt, hand off 1 worry, hibernate 1 minute, eyes closed, long exhale, then back to life. Resets keep the story from becoming ruined day. It becomes chapter with a mid-course correction. That is a very different identity. Another story, small and ordinary. Layla, a teacher, had a morning where a student meltdown and a copier jam ate her first period. She felt the edge coming. In the 4 minutes between classes, she leaned against the wall. Prime breath. Trio. Be warm, teach one concept, end on time. Protect, phones away for 20. Threshold tap at the classroom door. The period went. At lunch, she ran a 2-hour reset. Harvest, welcomed Jay, finished fractions, handoff, email parent at 2:45, hibernate, 2 slow exhales with hands on belly. The day didn't need heroics. It needed choreography. Sensory beat. The light glances off the rim of a nearby object. The line is crisp. Your breath slips in cool, out warm. Your hands rest heavier. Your jaw is a shade looser. You are the sort of person who looks for simple edges and uses them. Weaving identity through all of this is the real work. The morning OS and evening loop aren't chores. They're how you keep promises to yourself in inches. Each prime minute says, I treat my nervous system like an instrument. Each trio says, I steer my day. Each protect line says, my time has edges and value. Each harvest says, I notice evidence. Each handoff says, I trust a page to hold what my brain cannot carry while it sleeps. Each hibernate says, rest is part of the plan, not a reward. That story upgrades your operating system from react and repair to prepare and choose. A final anecdote in a fluorescent hallway with a vending machine that buzzes too loud. Omar, the PM whose demo crashed earlier in this book, began running the OS and loop for 8 weeks. He told no one. Meetings stayed meetings, launches stayed launches, but people began saying odd, kind things. Your timing calms the room. You never seem rushed when things are hot. Talking to you I think better. The secret wasn't heroism. It was mornings with breath and a sticky note, evenings with 2 receipts and 1 exhale. The pause had become a way of life, not a trick for emergencies. That is what you're building. Close the day's lesson with a live rehearsal. Picture your next morning. Feel the cool air in, the warm out. See your trio in your hand. 10-word outcome, 3-step sequence, courage cue. Hear your protect line, 1 sentence with a warm firmness. Then picture your evening, 2 receipts spoken, 1 handoff list, 1 minute of hibernate with the sentence, nothing needs solving in the dark. Now pick a threshold you'll tap today and the anchor word you'll carry through it. Put a small sticky or a tiny dot sticker on that frame to remind your hand. This is how you let rooms help you practice. Feel the world one more time before you move. The chair under you is unambiguous. It holds. The air on your ears is cooler than your cheeks. A shadow has moved since you started. Time is kind that way. It pulls you forward even if you stand still. You are the awareness that primes and plans, that protects and harvests, that hands off and hibernates. You are the author who chooses pages and endings. Tomorrow is not a test. It's a field you will walk with choreography you trust. When the weather turns, you have a jacket. When the room heats, you have breath. When the sentence wants to run, you have a pen. Today you stitch everything together so the pause is no longer something you remember, but something you are. Think of this as installation day, the new default that boots even when you're stressed, hungry, or surrounded by noise. 2 frameworks do the welding. The first is the Keystone Minute. 60 seconds you run at the top of any meaningful moment that stacks 5 micro moves you already know: breath, label, orient, question, choose. It's the master key on a lanyard you never take off. The second is the choice chain, 1 deliberate action that triggers another 2, prelinked like magnets, so your behavior keeps moving toward what matters without relying on mood. Keystone builds state. Choice chain builds momentum. Together, they make you harder to knock over and faster to return. Start with the Keystone Minute. When a moment matters, a pitch, a boundary talk, a late-night temptation, you give yourself precisely 1 minute. Breath, a single 428 to lower the alarm. Label, a quiet I'm having the urge to, which separates you from the surge. Orient, name 2 neutrals in the room, the window frame, the scuff on the floor, so your RAS knows where to aim. Question, ask one of the old reliables, what matters most now? Or what level of response preserves dignity and momentum? Choose. Pick the smallest wise move that your future self will thank you for. That's it. 60 seconds. Your body goes from brace to available. Your mind goes from courtroom to corridor, and a door appears. Feel it land. Air threads cool along the inner rims of your nostrils and leaves warmer across your upper lip. Your shoulders slope a degree. The jaw loosens when the tongue unglues from the roof of your mouth. The chair catches weight you didn't realize you were holding. Somewhere, a soft mechanical hum or street sound reminds you the world is bigger than your thought. These are not decorations. They are switches. Flip them, and your timing changes. Now chain your choices. The choice chain is choreography you set in advance. If X, then I do A, which triggers B, which automatically cues C. Keep the links tiny and visible. If I get a sharp email after 5, then I run the Keystone Minute, then I write a 1-sentence draft that starts with a question, then I schedule send for 9 a.m. or, if I feel the scroll urge at night, then I place the phone on the charger, then I drink water, then I step to the window for 3, 4, 2, 8 breaths. You aren't betting on willpower. You're installing rails. Your brain loves rails because rails remove debate, and debate is where old habits win. Here's a story that could be any daylight, any office. Sienna had a board update with a director who sharpened feedback into darts. In the elevator, she felt heat crawl up her neck. Her breath climbed her throat. Old Sienna would have matched pace and weapon. New Sienna ran the Keystone Minute before the doors opened. Breath, 428. Label, I'm having the urge to prove. Orient, the panels brushed steel, the number glowing 12. Question, what matters most now? Answer, trust and clarity. Choose, ask for the top 2 outcomes first. She walked in and said, before we dive, would you name the 2 outcomes you most want by the end of this update? The director blinked, named them, and the hour turned from duel to design. After Sienna ran her choice chain, if adrenaline after a meeting, then water, then 5 lines of notes, then a 5-minute walk. She drank, wrote, walked. Her body didn't drag drama into the next room. That is the quiet win that compounds. Science plain and kind. Keystone Minute clusters moves that lower arousal, recruit language, orient context, and engage planning circuits. Choice chains create predictable sequences that prime dopamine for completion, not novelty, which turns discipline from punishment into a series of checked boxes your brain enjoys. None of this is theory when your fingers learn it. Repetition carves grooves. Grooves carry you when the day is steep. Let your senses give you receipts. Your ribs widen sideways like a book opening on the inhale. The belly falls a centimeter on the exhale. The skin at your temples is warmer than the bridge of your nose. The light in the room paints a thin, bright line along an object near you. Let your eyes rest on it for 2 breaths. You can feel the border where your thighs meet the chair, the exact seam between support and air. These are proof points that you are here, not trapped in the movie your amygdala wants to replay. Put Keystone and chain into a home moment that matters more than any meeting. Late evening, the house is messy, your partner's tone has edges, your body wants to turn the kitchen into a courtroom. Keystone now, breath, label the urge to tally, orient to the rectangle of the window, the circle of the mug. Question, What reduces total suffering by one notch? Choose one sentence about impact and one request. You say, steady tone, when I walk into this at 9, my chest tightens and I get sharp. I need a shared anchor. Can we try surfaces cleared by 8:30, 3 nights and text if we'll miss? Then the choice chain you prorote. If we agree, then set the reminder, then move 2 items now. You feel silly for 30 seconds and free for the rest of the week. Domestic peace is not luck. It is choreography repeated until the room learns your rhythm. Add a micro drill you'll use inside Keystone called the balcony glance. For one breath, you picture yourself stepping onto the small inner balcony where your awareness usually stands when you remember. From there, you look down at the scene and ask, what would future me be proud I chose? One breath, one glance, then action. Pride is a compass with a body. Another story under unflattering fluorescent light. Dex, a physician's assistant, had 15 minutes behind schedule and a patient in pain who arrived angry. Dex felt the old defensive armor slide over his ribs. Keystone, breath, label, urge to defend. Orient, the sync's chrome, the clock's digits. Question, what matters most now? Choose, name the feeling I see and ask one present tense question. He opened with, you've been waiting too long and that's rough. What hurts most right now? The patient's shoulders dropped. Dex's day didn't miraculously empty. It just stopped bleeding unnecessary energy. That's the shape of real mastery, less waste, more dignity. Feel the physical echo. Your jaw releases when your tongue falls. Your voice would land half a note lower if you spoke. The air on your forearms is a shade cooler than in your palms. Your eyes widen their field, tunnel vision loosens, even your posture admits more room. Now install maintenance so the system stays healthy. Use the weekly Keystone on Sundays. You pick 3 predictable triggers, write a one-line Keystone question for each, and pre-build a choice chain. Trigger, scope creep. Keystone Q, what's the smallest gate that protects accuracy? Chain, ask for top 2, propose 2-slot swap, schedule check-in. Trigger, late night scrolling. Q, what am I actually seeking? Chain, charge phone, water, 3428 at window. Trigger, family criticism. Q, what boundary preserves connection and self-respect? Chain, acknowledge, specify, request, resource. You tape the card where your hand will touch it. The plan doesn't have to be perfect. It has to exist. Give your nervous system a small trophy it can carry in the pocket. Call it the quiet tally. Each day, make 3 tiny tick marks when you run a Keystone minute, and circle the day when you complete a choice chain that mattered. No apps, no dashboard, a pen, a line. Rituals like this tutor your RAs to count sanity instead of adrenaline. Let a final sensory beat make the point without words. The breath you take now rides in cool and leaves warm. The space between your shoulder blades widens a finger's width when you imagine it. The room's hum continues, indifferent to mood. Gravity holds you unconditionally. You are not your surge. You are the person who can find levers in rooms like this one. We'll add one last framework for days that go sideways and you want to throw the whole program out the window. It's called the 60-second salvage. When a miss piles on a miss, you run 60 seconds to keep the day salvageable. Breath 428. Name one thing you still control in the next 10 minutes. Ask one person one question that makes their world smaller and kinder. Do one physical reset, walk to the end of the hall and back, or step outside for 2 lengths of breath. Write one sentence that will make restart easy later. Salvage, not perfection. Salvage. The days you salvage are the days that quietly multiply your capacity. A closing story that threads every method, because life will ask for all of them in one afternoon. Tori, a creative director, prepped to present to a client with a new VP famous for eviscerations. On the train, Tori ran future-paced rehearsal, felt heat rise, practiced the two-question reframe, picked an anchor word, clear. In the lobby, she ran Keystone, breath, label the urge to defend, orient to the marble seam in the floor, the shadow across the ficus. Question, what matters most? Choose, ask for top two. In the room, the VP cut her off twice. Tori used the boundary bridge, warm and firm. I see the urgency. I'll finish this point in a minute, then I'll take your top two questions. Later, a teammate stumbled and Tori felt a spike. She ran the choice chain she'd written. If a teammate falters, then breathe, then ask a clarifying question, then borrow a minute for them. After the meeting, she felt adrenaline leftovers and used 60-second salvage. 428 in the stairwell, a glass of water, a one-line note to the team. We'll lock scope by noon, send your top two edits. That evening, she harvested 2 receipts and hibernated with 1 slow minute, and the sentence, nothing needs solving in the dark. No heroics, just choreography. The client signed. Her nervous system didn't spend the weekend in ruins. One last sensory seal, so your body remembers more than your mind. The light has shifted since you began this page. A shadow moved along a surface by a small but real distance. Your breath takes up more sideways room. Your gaze includes the corners again. You can feel the exact line where support ends and air begins under your thighs. You exist in a body you can steer. You have built an operating system that whispers when others shout. You carry an umbrella when weather rolls in. You step onto a balcony when hallways narrow. You ask questions that oxygenate rooms. You set boundaries that are bridges. You widen windows and write cleaner second drafts of moments. You recover fast and keep your promises in inches. You are not the old surge that wrote your days. You are the awareness that breathes, names, widens, and chooses. The pause is not emptiness. It is power distributed wisely. Triggers will visit. Choices will answer. And the life you're building will feel less like reaction and more like authorship, 1 keystone minute and 1 choice chain at a time.